Good evening, and welcome to the public hearing for the Livingston Zoning Board of Adjustment. Today is September 24th, 2024. If you're an applicant for a D or use variance, you should be aware that such a variance can only be granted after showing that special reasons for the grant of the variance exists, and that variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the zoning plan of the Township of Livingston. You should also be aware that in order to be granted for such a variance, you will require an affirmative vote of 5 members of the 7-member Board of Adjustment. Other variances require a majority of 4 members to grant that variance. If you're an applicant for any variance and your variance is denied by this board, you have a right to appeal the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of decision, and that court may overturn the decision of this board. If you're an objector to any type of variance that has been granted, you too may appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of the notice of decision. If you do file an appeal, I ask that you please provide a copy of the complaint to our Planning Administrator, Jackie Hollis. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Star Ledger and West Essex Tribune, and a copy was also posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. In addition to having notice posted, notice of this meeting was placed on the township's website. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions or to make statements regarding each application at the appropriate time. When the time comes, if you would like to address the board, please come to the front and use the microphone so that we can make sure your comments or questions are part of the record. We will now call the roll. Ms. Khan?
Ms. Khan is here. Mr. Kenya?
Here.
Mr. Horn?
Present.
Mr. Shah?
Here.
Ms. Marachi?
Here.
Mr. Sherman?
Here.
Ms. Khanna?
Here.
Mr. Beer?
Here.
And Mr. Jemis, our board attorney, is present. Ms. Hollis from the zoning board is here, and Ms. Aylen, the planner, is here.
Thank you.
Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Ms. Khan, please call the first application.
Block 2602, Lot 29, 25 Sycamore Avenue, application number 2024-24-V, Tri-Owners Realty. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family residence in violation of the following sections: 170-98C2, front yard setback, 50 feet required, 36 feet proposed, 14 feet variance requested. 170-98C4, rear yard setback, 40 feet required, 25.4 feet proposed, 14.6 variance requested. 170-98CC3, habitable floor ratio, 21% allowed, 31.7% proposed, 10.7% variance requested.
Thank you. All yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Elizabeth Durkin from the Durkin Firm on behalf of the applicant, Tri-Owners Realty. Some of you may know this application. It has had a very long path for a single-family home. Just briefly, it described to the board and also advised the board that there had been a jurisdictional issue raised, that has now been moot, and I'll explain that to the board. The applicant had initially made an application for certain variances in 2019. The applicant had purchased the lot. The seller of the lot, who lives next door and has a home there, was under, as most people would, that since he had 2 separate tax lots, that he had 2 separate lots. In speaking with the Pearlsons, who are the neighbors to the rear, their counsel contacted me because they thought that the doctrine of merger had applied. I did not disagree. Based upon legal briefs that the Pearlsons counsel, Lisa John Bassett, and I had submitted in 2020 to this board then said, we don't have jurisdiction. You need to go get a subdivision of the lot in order to create the lot to give us the jurisdiction to hear. That was jurisdiction question number 1. As a result of that, there was litigation because the Barclays basically, and as I said, I can understand how lay people would be misunderstood thinking that for all these years they paid their taxes, they were a separate lot, it had a separate street address, that it was a separate lot. But ultimately, they did agree in a settlement on the litigation that they would then make an application to the planning board to create the lots. The Barclays did in fact do that. The lots were then created by the planning board in 2023. The lots were perfected. As this board knows, you can perfect lots by either, minor subdivision, 2 lots by either a deed or by a filed map. My client was the contract purchaser He technically owned the lot, and as a matter of fact, in 2019, when the lots were sold to him, and I did not represent him at that time, the attorney for the Barclays actually made a mistake and conveyed both lots to my client. So that was another issue that we had to deal with later in the application. So the Barclays did make an application, and they were approved by the board for a minor subdivision. My client was not involved in that application. We monitored it, of course, because there was a lawsuit there, and my client owned that property, or technically, once it was created, then we were going to do what you call corrective deeds to make sure that ownership was corrected. Barclays Council prepared the minor subdivision deeds. Their engineer was Rich Keller. They did file the deeds with the county. The statute provides that it has to be perfected within 190 days. The county had kicked it back because they had erroneously thought they only needed one get-writ, when in actuality they needed two, because of the problem with the Barclays conveying both lots out to my client. So, and how that would work is the subdivision deed perfects the two lots, and then we did corrective deeds telling the story so that Barclays would retain ownership of their lot, and then correctly, the lot that's before you this evening, my clients would have ownership of that lot. During each and every of our applications or attempts, the Perlsons, who are the neighbors in the rear, with their attorney, Lisa John Basta, have objected. They were present during the subdivision application. They have every right to be there. I just want this board to know. They were present at every single one of the planning board meetings. They did put an objection on the record. They did have a planner. They did not file an appeal of that subdivision. Now we go fast forward. The statute says, because now we're here before this board, Lisa John Basta sent this board a letter and said, whoa, you don't have jurisdiction to hear this because that subdivision deed is 5 days out of time. The statute says you get 190 days. The statute also provides that the planning board can extend the time to perfect, and the board can also do that retroactively. So obviously the board looks at this more administratively. So if you recall, we were here at the last meeting in August. The jurisdiction issue was before the board. We hadn't time to argue it because our planner couldn't get here. So as like that little saying, don't let a good crisis go to waste. On my way home, I was like, okay, check the planning board meetings. I was able to file an extension of the planning board approval so that it would be retroactive to the June 12th date, which June 12th, 2024, for the perfection of the subdivision. We went before the board, the planning board, just last week, and the planning board on September 17th approved in conference the request for the extension. It was really technically Barclays' request, but we kind of piggybacked with them to help him get through this application. So that jurisdictional issue is now moot. It is not an issue before this board. There are 2 lots that have been created legally by the planning board in Livingston. So the subject application tonight is not improved. The other lot is the Barclays. We also cleaned up the title issues so that the Barclays have title to their lot and their home, and my client has ownership of the lot that's the subject of this application this evening. We don't have the resolution. I did speak to Jackie, who's, I don't need to tell you how terrific Jackie is and on top of things. I did see the resolution. I did proof the resolution. I did speak with the board attorney about the resolution. I've also been in direct communication with your board's counsel on this issue, and also the Perlson's counsel, Lisa John Basta, who also appeared to object to the extension. So there's everything is out there in the open. And then my understanding is the planning board is going to adopt the resolution at the next meeting, okay? So tonight, that brings us fast forward to you this evening, and now after almost 5 years, my client is looking for certain variance relief to construct a single-family home on the property in a single-family zone. I will tell the board that the site, I have 3 experts with me. I have our engineer, our architect, and our planner, and they will each give testimony. I want the board to also know that I've had open lines of communication with the objector, because that's something you want to do. You know, is there something that we can possibly do to resolve whatever issue you might have, absent telling us we can't construct a house on that lot? And you'll hear testimony on that, because hence why we've had revised plans. There were 3 things that in dialogue with the Pearlson's attorney, they asked us to reduce the size of the house. We've done that. They asked us to move the house forward as much as possible. We've done that. And even though there's a significant landscaping buffer there now, there's very large evergreen trees, we also agreed to put an additional landscaping buffer on our property. And then the fourth request that the Pearlsons had was one that they did not want a raised deck. They asked that a condition be that there would be no raised deck. I don't know why. I spoke to my client. My client didn't have an issue with it, so we didn't need to drill down on that point. So if it pleases the board, and I assume through your counsel, he's in agreement that the jurisdictional issue is moot, I would like to move into our testimony. We're starting with our engineer.
Just one point of clarification. If for some reason the planning board does not sign the resolution next month, as everyone expects them to, then everything here can't go forward, obviously, right?
Right.
So there's no.
Right.
Right, so we can go forward, but if the planning board stops, then we can't proceed to
Yes.
sign off on our resolution,
Right.
if there is one.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. And I have a greater concern that the sun's not going down tonight or coming up tomorrow, then that planning board is not going to sign off on the resolution.
Fair enough,
So
but
just
I
to
got-
gives you why we're here. I understand.
Need to
As I
cover,
said,
need to
I've-
cover our side, too.
Yeah, we've lived with the property now, as I said, since 2019.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to an approval.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if now's the appropriate time or you want me to defer until Ms. Durkin's done doing her case, but there are two corrections of the statements that were just made that I would like to address if I could.
I think that's all good, yeah.
That's fine.
Yes,
You
all right.
identified yourself, correct?
I'm sorry, Lisa John Bossa with the law firm Kazis, Shahinian, and Jan Tomasi, representing the Pearlsons on Bearbrook Road, who are directly to the rear of the subject property that's before the board this evening. In general, the procedural history, I do agree with Ms. Durkin's assessment. However, at the planning board subdivision hearings, the Pearlsons were not represented by counsel. I was not representing them at the time. They were there on their own behalfs. Secondly, with respect to the representation that there has been open lines of communication, I do take issue with that. In my opinion, there has not been open lines of communication. There was a communication between myself and Ms. Durkin on some asks that we had before the last meeting. We received revised plans at the last minute, right before the hearing was about to start. I mentioned to Ms. Durkin that we don't have time to digest this, and there is no agreement on any terms that the Pearlsons are in agreement related to these plans, and I have not heard from Ms. Durkin since August. So I don't believe that there has been open lines of communication. And lastly, I'll just say that while this has been a 5-year process, it was only because the Pearlsons counsel raised legal issues that should have been addressed by the applicant themselves. It's not like we were looking to do some wrong here. We were looking to make sure that everything was done right. I'll reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Durkin? Please.
Good evening. Would you kindly state your name and spell it, please?
Sure. Legal name is Giovanni Manilio, Giovanni. Last name Manilio, Manilio.
Mr. Manilio, do you swear or affirm that any and all statements and testimony you present to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Consider yourself under oath. I'll defer to Ms. Durkin for the...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Miller, are you a licensed engineer, licensed in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
And your license is current?
It is in current good
Yeah.
standing.
And are you the professional engineer who prepared the plans that are the subject of this application this evening?
I am, yes.
And have, just for the benefit of this board, have you testified or been qualified to testify as a professional engineer before this board before?
Not in front of this board before.
Okay, can you just briefly then introduce yourself to the
Sure.
board and what boards you have been qualified to appear before, just a smattering of them, because I know there's a lot.
Yep. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Syracuse University. I've been licensed in the state for the past 16 years. I actually got my start out of college working for the town of Livingston as a junior engineer under the Bobs, and have been practicing ever since and testifying in front of numerous boards throughout the state. Local boards close to Livingston include Milburn, Chatham, South Orange, Belleville, and the likes.
And at any time, has any board not granted you approval to testify as a licensed professional engineer?
Not to date.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request that the board accept the qualifications of Mr. Manilio to testify as a professional engineer on this application.
Does anybody on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as expert in professional engineering.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, so you've been involved with this application for several years, correct, Mr. Manilio?
Correct, yes.
Yes. So we're going to go on the most recent plan that you prepared, is that correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's
So
plans.
let's just get a date on that,
Yep, so it's.
and then confirmation that that was submitted, otherwise we'll mark it in as an exhibit.
Sure, so it's entitled 35 Sycamore Avenue Variance Plan with a date of February 7th, 2024, last revised August 27th, 2024. And that has been submitted to the board.
Okay.
Excuse me,
And
I'm
just for the
sorry,
record,
wait.
you were
Excuse me.
not,
The plan that we just got this afternoon at like 4:30, is that the plan that's up there?
that's the architect.
That's the architectural plans.
That's different.
Okay,
That's,
okay.
yeah, so we will get there.
Okay.
So yeah, so the plan that's on the screens right now are these
And
civil
Ms. Miller,
plans.
just for the record, you were not the engineer for the Barclays in the subdivision application, isn't that correct?
That is correct, I was not the
Okay.
engineer.
Okay, so would you be so kind as to just walk the board through your site plan?
Sure, so I'm just gonna get my bearings over here real quick. Oops. All right, so I'm on the first page of our plan set that I just referenced. On the left side is the existing conditions plan. So the property, as we know, is 35 Sycamore Avenue, located in the R3 zone. The site is irregular in shape, so as you can see here, it's approximately 60 feet wide at the frontage of Sycamore Avenue, and then along the rear, which is kind of it's not parallel to the front line, it's approximately 105 feet wide, with the average lot depth of about 125 feet. The lot is currently undersized for the zone, so 15,000 square feet is permitted in the zone, or required per zone, and the property is technically 9,160 square feet, but per the ordinance, you have to measure the area within 150 feet of the front property line, and that's slightly different. It's 9,158 square feet. There is one encumbrance on the property. There's an existing sanitary sewer easement that cuts through the back of the property where my mouse is right now, and that's a 10-foot wide sanitary sewer easement. The lot right now is currently vacant. There are some remnants of the neighboring lot that was subdivided, including the driveway and some pads as well. As far as the proposal, I'm moving over to the second viewport of the plans, which is showing what's being proposed as part of the construction. So we are proposing a 2-story single-family dwelling with an attached 2-car garage in the front of the house facing Sycamore Avenue, with the driveway that's 2 cars wide and approximately 20 feet in width. There is a small, porch and steps that come down with the sidewalk to the driveway. In the rear is just a landing and stairs to come from the first floor down to grade. And then there's stepping stones that we're proposing, and an on-grade paver patio in the rear yard on the opposite side of the sanitary sewer easement. As part of the application and submission, what we had done is design a stormwater or dry well system per the township regulations, and obviously that's going to be subject to review by the town engineer as part of their review for grading and drainage. One of the changes that we made since the original submission was we planted, or showing plantings of 13 arborvitaes that would be staggered along the rear property line. And we did as much as we could. We can't plant within these sewer easements, so that's why the landscaping stops right there. So for relief that we are asking for on the property, we're asking for 3 items. One is front yard setback. So the code for the R3 zone requires a 50-foot setback. However, there's a line in there saying that if there are houses within the area, you should use the prevailing front yard setback, which is 36 feet, in this case, 36.01 to be exact. However, no less than 40 feet. So 40 feet is what governs per this lot and the surrounding houses. But as the council had stated, one of the requests prior to the last meeting was to try to push the house as close to the front as we could. So we thought it would be prudent. Originally, I believe our front yard was approximately 38 feet in the original submission. With this one, we pushed it all the way up to the average setback. Even though 40 feet is required, we thought it made sense to make it in line with all the other houses in that area. So right now, the house is aligned at 36 feet for a front yard setback, where 40 feet is technically required. And essentially, the 36 feet is measured to the garage. The remaining of the house, or the main portion of the house, is actually 42.3 feet from the front property line. Second relief that we're asking for is a rear yard setback. So again, 40 feet is required for a rear yard setback. In the original submission that we originally submitted, the rear yard setback was 18.7 feet. So with reducing some of the size of the dwelling, pushing the dwelling closer to Sycamore, and actually moving it closer to the left, as you're looking at the plan, we're able to increase the rear yard to 25.4 feet. Still asking for relief, but that increased about 7 feet from the original submission. And lastly, the habitable floor area ratio is the variance that we're asking for as the third variance. Per the code, 0.21 or 21% is permitted. And with this application, we're at 29.5% or 0.295. The original application was for about 3,117 square feet or 34%. So a decrease of approximately 5% in habitable floor area, and a reduction of about 411 square feet from what was originally submitted. That concludes the engineering and the proposal as far as site improvements. Open up to the board or to council for any questions.
Oh, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review the board engineer's report dated June 26, 2024?
I have.
Okay, so in the confirmation in there, the property's not in the flood zone, isn't that correct?
That is correct. It's not in a
Okay.
flood zone. There's no other environmental constraints.
Okay, so maybe if you could just briefly discuss with the board the proposed drainage calculations and the drainage plans that you have proposed for this lot.
Yeah, so what we had proposed is a dry well system. So it's an underground concrete tank with stone that surrounds it, and it's to store the excess runoff that would come off the site to not exceed what's exiting off pre-existing conditions. So actually reducing the stormwater coming off the site.
So any of the items, conditions that are set forth in the board engineer Rocco Marucci's report dated June 26, 2024, you don't have any disagreement with any of those points, isn't that correct?
That is correct. We have no issues.
Okay. And then, is it in your professional opinion, although it might seem odd, the development on the site would actually improve the drainage as it exists today?
Correct. There's no drainage on the site today, and there's existing pavement that would run off-site without any detention.
Okay. And the proposed home, you do recall conversations that we had based on discussions with objectors counsel that I had, and email communication, that the objectors whose home is in the rear, but not in the direct rear of this property, was looking for the property to be moved up, the home to be moved up as much as possible. Is there any way that you could move that house up any further? Because I know that we've already done that and amended the application to show that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, so can the house be moved up closer to the street? Yes, but then that would be, closer to the street than the neighboring properties. And I think visually from, the traveling public on Sycamore, that 36 feet makes more sense in line with all the houses. So yeah, we moved it up as far as we thought would be beneficial and look good in the neighborhood. And we moved it to the left as far as we could as well without asking for another variance for a side yard setback.
Yeah, so is it your testimony then that by moving it up as much as you have moved it up, in amending the application, it is in conformity with the other homes in the neighborhood, and though technically you might be able to move it up, it would not look appropriate, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so is it your professional opinion that where you have located or sited the house now would be the best location in terms of the front yard setback, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And you're familiar with the site, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're familiar with the objector, the Pearlson's property to the rear, correct?
Yeah, yes, I am.
And that property already has a pretty significant buffer of evergreen trees, correct?
Yeah, I believe there's a evergreen trees on the side of the back of the property along the driveway.
But even given that, you showed to the board where you've amended the application based on communications that I've had with the objectors' counsel, that the applicant has also agreed to install an additional landscaping buffer, correct?
Correct, of 13 arborvitaes.
Okay, okay. I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for this witness?
Could you point out where the objector's property is and where the current buffer is and where you'd be putting an additional buffer?
Yeah, so right now, it's where my mouse is right here, and I'll see if I could zoom in on the aerial as well. That might help. So as you see here, here's our subject site, and this is the neighboring property to the rear, and this is the evergreen trees that we were discussing. So the house is going to be sited, pretty much where it says site is where the house would sit. Actually, you know what? I have another exhibit, so I believe this was submitted as part of the exhibits. So this is an aerial exhibit where we overlaid the house on the aerial. Did I do anything? There you go. And you can see how that is in relationship to the neighboring property behind us. So again, you have the evergreen buffer on the neighboring property, and then the evergreen that we're proposing on our property as well.
Okay, can we get that exhibit back up?
Oh, it's not up there?
It's not.
Yeah.
Just for the record, that we did submit that as part of the application.
Yes.
And you prepared the exhibit that you're testifying to now, the aerial?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and the yellow line shows
The property line,
that's the subject of the application, correct?
correct, yeah.
And maybe you could just show to the board where the Pearlson's home is?
Back up, yep. So it's, this is the dwelling, and this is the lot.
And you wouldn't dispute that that's a irregularly shaped lot, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And it's an undersized lot for the zone as it exists today, correct?
Correct. It's about 2/3.
I got a question, Ed.
Please.
So just based on this aerial view, the house to the right is actually situated much closer to Sycamore?
It does
Correct.
appear that way.
So in
Yeah.
theory, the house could be moved forward, I mean, I know you use the average of the lot, but this is kind of sitting closer to the house
Yeah.
on the left side?
So from the aerial, the numbers that we got were from the actual survey, where the surveyor actually picked up the dimensions. So sometimes the aerials can be skewed because of how they're taken. They're not directly taken 100% from, straight up. So the 36.01 came from the survey and the surveyor.
Okay.
Anybody else have any more questions from the board? Is anybody in the, oh, sorry. Please.
In terms of the surveys that are depicted on your diagrams, and if I missed this because I didn't capture it, who prepared those surveys?
That was actually prepared by Casey and Keller.
Casey and Keller. Do you
Correct.
know when?
Recently, within this year. I think the survey was it in there?
It's there.
There is a Casey and Keller Lands Title Survey that was submitted initially. It was
There's that
prepared by
one.
Mr.
Yes.
Lanzafama. Are those, is this the same survey, or, well, the one that I have doesn't show the dynamics, but that's who prepared the surveys, correct?
That's who prepared the original survey and who prepared the subdivision as well.
And they accurately depict what's there and what's intended to be proposed.
Correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
Thank you. Does anybody in the public, have a question for this witness, please come forward? Oh, you don't, yeah, no, let me explain that we can question each witness, and at the end, you can make a statement, okay? We've got plenty of time to do that.
I'm leaving to pick up my daughter from the airport. I just wanted to get on the record, even though I know it's confidential. I approve of the engineers.
No, we just can't do that. There's a format,
You
so,
all felt well, good luck.
so, thank you. Sorry, so sorry.
Not a problem. Have a great
Safe travels.
Hi, good evening again for the record, Lisa John Bassa. Mr. Manillo, right? Correct. Thank you. As was stated by Ms. Durkin, there was an application that was filed in 2019 before this board in connection with what was thought to be illegally created 35 Sycamore. Were you the preparer of that plan in 2019 that was filed?
No, I was not.
Are you aware that variance relief was previously requested?
I'm not too familiar with the subdivision approvals.
Well, just for the record, that application never went forward. That application never, this board didn't have jurisdiction to hear it. The application never went forward. This is a fresh variance application.
Hi. The subdivision approval that was granted, that was before the planning board?
Yes.
I guess I'll defer my questions to your planner. The lot area that was permitted for the creation of 35 Sycamore, what's the total lot area?
Per the definition in the township ordinance, it's 9,158 square feet,
And what is the minimum required lot area?
15,000 square feet.
So is it fair to say that the subject lot is about 60% of what's allowable for a minimum lot area?
Approximately, yes.
The requested variance relief that you touched on, there is a floor area ratio variance that's being requested, which is why we're before the zoning board?
Is that question or statement? I'm sorry.
It's a question.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the proposed FAR?
0.295,
And permitted is?
0.21.
And at the 0.21, that would allow a house of approximately how many square feet of habitable square feet?
Approximately 1,924 square feet.
And under the township code, the habitable square feet footage, that deducts certain things, such as a portion of the garage, is that correct?
That is correct.
An attic area,
Yes,
and also basement area, is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay, so the 192.4 that would be permitted, that would not include a basement and attic or 450 square feet of a garage, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And the square footage of the proposed home that's being proposed, not including the attic, garage, or basement, is approximately how many square feet?
It is 2,706.
So it's over by approximately 782 square feet? Is that accurate?
That's good math, yes.
About? And there's also a rear yard variance that's being requested here, and you just provided some testimony regarding that the, and correct me if I'm saying something inaccurate, but what's required for a minimum is 40 feet, and what's being proposed with this application is 25.4?
That is correct.
If you could flip back to your variance plan that shows the proposed house. So the dimension of the 25.4, can you just point out where that is with your cursor?
Yeah, so that's the top right corner of the house. That's the closest distance to the property line. As you move further away, the distance increases, where it's actually in conformance at the left corner.
And there's a square box right outside of the house that's, I believe is referenced of a wall. What is that?
That's a patio that comes out to grade.
And what is the distance of the patio to the rear yard?
I don't have that dimension, but it's probably roughly 20 feet.
So is the rear yard then less than the 25.4 that's being proposed?
No, I believe it's still 25.4. It's measured to the actual building, not to the patio.
What is the dimension to the patio?
I could scale it for you, but I don't have that dimension right here.
That would be great if you could
Okay,
do that.
yeah, and I'll report back to you on that. That's not a problem.
Okay, because it appears that there's actually a lesser rear yard setback than what is being shown on the plans by the dimensions. So it would be great to know what that is, what that patio area is.
Do you agree with that statement, Mr. Manilio?
To my recollection, I don't believe the rear yard setback is measured to the on-grade patio.
There is a requirement within your code related to patios. Are you familiar with that code section?
1 second. Okay.
Was that a question to me or to the board?
To you.
Okay, you said
Yeah,
you have a
there's
code.
a,
That's
there's a
okay.
section that relates to patios that are attached to homes and their distances. Are you familiar with that provision?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So there's a provision, it's section 170-98.C4, related to rear yards. And it states that there shall be a rear yard at least 40 feet, except that a patio may extend into that distance for 10 feet if the lot is conforming in size. So based on that representation, would you agree then that the rear yard setback is measured to the patio?
If that's the definition, then that you may be correct, but I would need to review that.
And how large is that patio area in square footage?
Again, I don't have that dimension. I get that for you. That's just, I mean, maybe the architect could answer when he gets up as well, but I'll scale it.
Okay, because there's also an ancillary part of that setback requirement that relates to the square footage of the patio itself.
Okay.
And then on your plans, if you can zoom out again, there's another, it looks like another patio, that square block that's to the rear.
That is correct, yes.
That's a second patio on the property?
Well, the first one's not a patio, it's really a landing that comes out of the doors, but you can call it as you wish.
And how large is that patio?
I believe it's 20 by 20.
So that's 400 square feet? About?
That is correct.
Okay. And what is the distance of, the closest distance of the patio to the rear, the second patio, or the rear patio, I'll say?
I don't have a dimension on the plans. I could, again, get you that dimension and report back to you by the end of the meeting.
And do you know the distance of the patio to the side yard line?
I do not.
Are you familiar with the township definition of accessory building?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't have it memorized.
The definition section of the township code states accessory buildings, and I'm quoting, subordinate building or structure on the same lot with a main building.
Consider a patio.
Would you consider the patio a structure?
No,
It's not a structure?
no.
What is it?
It's on-grade material. It's like calling a driveway a structure.
And you don't believe that a driveway is a structure either?
No.
Okay. Building coverage. Oh, I'm sorry. Rear yard. Let's go back to the rear yard. I believe that you stated in your testimony that the rear yard could not get larger, the setback in the rear yard could not get larger?
I don't recall saying that.
Could the rear yard setback get larger from an engineering standpoint?
Yes, the house could be moved forward. There's different ways that it could be
Could we
increased.
move forward, or could another alternative be that the house be reduced in size to create a larger rear yard?
Correct, or, yeah.
And you also, I believe you also said that the house or the rear yard was in character with the surrounding properties, is that right?
I did not. I said the front yards were.
Can you flip to that aerial photo that you showed previously?
Sure.
Okay, so this is an aerial that you prepared?
Correct.
Okay. Looking at the character of the neighborhood itself and just focusing on the rear yard, would you say that the patio and the encroachments into the rear yard that's being proposed with this application are in character with the remaining lots that are in this frame?
I mean, it depends on how you classify character. I would say that the rear yard's in line with the neighbors to the left or to the west. And then where you see this, the property does kind of turn, and that property line goes and gets smaller as you get closer to the intersection of Bear Brook.
So the lots, just from the screen angle to the left, would you be able to dimension roughly how large those rear yards are from the principal building to the rear lot line?
No, not off this drawing.
Based on just the view of the eye, does it appear that the existing development on those lots have much larger rear yards than what's being proposed in connection with the subject application?
Yes, but I will also classify that those lots are a lot deeper than this lot as well.
Right, I would agree with that assessment. And also, yeah, so that would relate to both the principal buildings as well as any sort of accessory structures or patio features. Is that correct? That the rear yards of those existing homes, the built-out homes, are larger than what's being proposed here?
I'm still confused. You said something about accessory structure and patio. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
I know you're not calling it an accessory structure, so I reworded it.
Okay.
To the patio that's being proposed in the rear of 35 Sycamore. The question.
I'm not trying to be, yeah, I just don't understand what the question
and I
is.
think you already answered
Yeah.
the question that what is being proposed is not in character with the remaining rear yards.
I don't believe I said that.
Okay. The building coverage that,
Excuse me one second. Ms. Khanna has to leave due to a family situation, so everybody else is still in play. So, okay? Sorry, thank you.
for your building coverage calculation, I don't know if I heard you say, what is the footprint of the proposed home?
Just-
Or how was the building coverage calculated?
Let's get that for you. So we came up with 1773. And that includes all the roofed areas.
I'm sorry. what?
All the roofed areas?
Okay. So that was the total building coverage.
Correct.
The patios and patio areas are not included, correct?
That is correct.
The grading of the lot, can you just discuss generally how the grading is on site?
Yeah, so generally, the site right now grades from Sycamore towards the rear of the property, and it is going to be maintained that way as well in the proposed conditions.
Do you have your grading plan?
Yeah, I was just looking for my full plan here. I couldn't find it. I believe this might be it. Yeah, so with the exception now, so the driveway is grading towards Sycamore, and the remainder of the lot is still grading the way that it was before.
Is that, it's hard to read from here, but is it around, I think, a 308 elevation in the front, and then it slopes, I guess, downward to around 294?
That is correct,
Okay, so there's a difference of grading about 14 feet.
which is existing and proposed, correct.
As part of the development, is any soil or soil-moving activities being proposed on site?
Yeah, in order to build the dwelling and the improvements, some soil movement will have to occur.
On sheet 3 of your plans, it had some figures related to the soil-moving activities. That the lot area itself is 9,160 square feet, and that the lot disturbance is 9,461 square feet?
Correct. So that includes also disturbance within the right-of-way.
Okay, so the entire site will be disturbed?
So from the plans, I don't know if you can see this line right here, this rear corner is not being disturbed.
Okay, but the vast majority, and including in the right-of-way, is going to be
That is
disturbed?
correct, yes.
Is any soil going to be brought on site to construct the home?
It actually should be an export with the basement, so no, there should be no import.
Okay. There's, also on your plans, there was a calculation related to building height, and that the proposal is 35 feet is required, and the proposal is 34.95 feet.
Correct.
On a prior reiteration of your plan, there was a picture on sheet 1. There was a diagram that showed how the height was measured. It's missing from this plan. Is there a reason why it's missing?
I don't know why it's missing, but we could definitely add it back to the plan if it is a requirement or a condition of approval, not an issue.
And do you know if the height was measured from current grade or after the soil moving activities occurred?
It was measured pursuant to the town's requirement as far as average grade. I believe it was the four corners of the house.
So it's before the soil moving activities occur on site?
To be honest with you, I need to look at the calculation, but I know it was done per the code. And again, that's up to the town engineer or zoning official that could verify.
All right, before the board were to act on this, I would ask that a plan be shown how the height was measured, because per the township code, it requires that that the highest point of the building be measured from the average of the original grade. So I think since we're so close to the maximum permitted height here, that we should, or the board should know that answer and the public should know that answer before granting an approval.
I just want to state that we are proposing a conforming house as far as building height. If the board wishes, we have no issues showing those calculations and showing that it does conform as a condition of approval. And obviously, if it doesn't work, we're going to lower the house to be conformance. We're not asking for a variance on building height.
But there are plans that are on file with this board, and we need to make sure before the board grants an approval that there will be a conformance with the maximum permitted building height, that the plans fairly represent what is actually going to be built out there. But that's a statement, that's not a question. I'll move on.
If I might interject, Ms. Durkin, is there any testimony going to be offered this evening with regard to that height, other than this?
No, we're not seeking height variance.
No, but I'm talking with regard to the issue raised by the Objectors Council as to how it was calculated.
So I can, when I have a chance, I could take a look at the calculations in my files and verify, but it's not on the plans as far as how it was calculated.
So it would be am I understanding that if this application was approved, it would be a condition of approval?
It will be conditional approval, or if you give me 20 minutes after I'm done here, I could verify on record that it's per the code.
As long as it's before you leave. Otherwise, I would respectfully suggest that it has to be a condition of any approval.
Right, and the board will also, neither your engineer nor your zoning official raise the patio or the height as an issue.
I understand. I understand the dynamics. I understand that you don't know it right now.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that we're clear that we're going to resolve that some way, either as a condition of approval or here.
Correct, not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Testifying, there will be no height variance if you need to request it, correct?
That is correct.
Sorry, there will be no height variance requested by the applicant.
Impervious coverage. What is the proposed total impervious coverage on, proposed in connection with the application?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. So again, I don't have the total. I have the increase from what was existing on the site, which is about 1,815 square feet.
Sorry, 1,800?
That's the increase in impervious coverage. I don't have the total. I believe that's not a requirement per the zone.
Are you familiar with Code Section 170-72C that requires a drainage plan be submitted for any approved addition or of impervious surface of 300 square feet or greater?
Yes.
Did you prepare a drainage plan?
Yep, it's sheet 2. It has the drainage calculations and drainage plan, and I believe we stated that we would conform and be subject to review of the town engineer.
Okay. Tree removal. I didn't see, I just want to make sure that this is accurate. Is there, based on the survey, it didn't appear that there were any trees that were being removed, is that correct?
That is correct.
The landscaping that is being proposed, which is appreciated by the Pearlstons, I see that it's 13 green giant arborvitaes, and it says 6 to 8 feet tall. Is that at planting height?
That is a planting height, correct.
And you also mentioned that there was a dry well system that was being proposed for drainage or rain collection. Is there any issues with maintenance of those types of systems?
As issues as far as,
Do they get clogged often? Do they have to have regular maintenance?
they have to be inspected. As far as clogging often, no, not usually. All they collect is usually the leaders from the roof, so it's clean water as far as clogging is concerned.
Has a maintenance plan for that system been submitted to the board?
Not at this time, no. That's usually something that's done during the engineering process.
If the board were inclined to grant the application, we would respectfully request that as a condition of approval, a maintenance plan be provided and of record.
I think a lot of stuff you're discussing, which is all extremely important, is under the purview of the engineering department, and they'll take care of, whether it's drainage or anything like that. We don't have privy over maintenance of dry wells or anything else, or maintenance plans. I can't necessarily put that in, I don't think, as a condition.
I understand that typically it's outside of your purview, but given the fact of how large this house is, there's a concern as to the drainage, so that's why we were just raising the issues.
Understood.
So we have no issues providing a maintenance plan.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add that the applicant would have to do a lot surface drainage application to the engineering department, so any approvals, any home being built has to be reviewed by the engineer.
Correct, as always.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And just one last question. From an engineering perspective, could this proposed building envelope be reduced?
The building envelope?
Yes.
I think the building envelope is set by the ordinance as far as setbacks.
But there's not, I believe you testified that the applicant is requesting variances from the rear yard setback as well as the front yard setback. Is that correct?
Can the building be reduced? I thought you said the envelope, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, from an engineering standpoint, you could build nothing, you could build a 100-square-foot house, yeah. Engineering-wise, anything's possible.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for this witness? Please step forward and provide your name.
My name is Yan-Jong Niu. I'm the son-in-law of the owner of 37 Seymour Avenue.
Would you be kind enough to spell your name for us, please?
Yes. First name Y-A-N-Z-H-O-N-G, last name Niu, N-I-U. I've participated in the planning board meeting as well and expressed my objection on behalf of my father-in-law.
Could you state your address, please?
My address is 6 Arlington Drive, also Livingston.
Thank
Can we
you.
make that louder?
Please.
So, my question for you is, as far as the character of the houses on the street is concerned, because I recall during the planning board meeting, the main argument of the applicant is that the character of the house to be built will be the size around 1900, and it'll be of the same character as the houses on the left of the street, right? I believe Mr. and Mrs. Perlson actually provided some information during that hearing that the council was there. If you're not aware, that's fine. So the council was at that hearing, and so basically Mr. and Mrs. Pearson provided information about the houses on the right and behind the lot, and they pointed out that the character of the house, based on the previously applied plan, would be completely out of character. No, sorry. What the applicant was claiming, a 1900 house, would be very inconsistent with those houses, right? Because it's nearer to those houses. So it'll be a very small house. But then you guys said, well, it's actually more, or the applicant claimed that it'll be very consistent to the houses to the left of the street. So based on your observation, your current plan, this 2-story house, I guess it's 2-story in the front, but 3 stories in the back, correct? This house, if you look at the height of the house and the total square footage, how consistent is that to the average house on the left of the street?
So I'm not sure if that's really a question for me or my testimony.
Okay,
I deal
okay.
with engineering,
So,
but
okay, I see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a layman,
that's
so
all
my
right.
question is, so hopefully that'll be addressed.
Yeah.
And as far as when you say it's a two-story house, you are talking about from the front, how many stories, correct? Or
no.
is that also an
So
architect
that's
question?
per the definition of in the township ordinance as far as how to measure stories.
Right,
What-
that's
so-
measured from the front, right? From the grade up?
Per definition, there's how much of a floor could be exposed and what's considered a basement and what's considered a story. So per the definition of the ordinance, this is a two-story house.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I guess later on, that question will be addressed by the architect.
Or you come back up and ask it again.
Okay, cool.
Anything
That's
else? Any other
That's all I have. Now, just to recap the three variances you're applying, one is the front setback, and the other is the total square footage. What's the third one?
Rear yard setback.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much. Does anybody else in the public who would like to ask a question of this witness? Okay, Ms. Durkin, back to you.
Apologize. If we asked our architect to please come up. Okay, would you be so kind to state your name for the record and your business address?
Matthew Martinique, 23 Vreeland Road, Florham Park, New Jersey.
And are you a licensed architect
I'm
licensed
sorry,
by the
would you
state?
spell your last name, please?
Martinique.
Thank you.
Are you a licensed architect licensed in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you the licensed architect who prepared the plans that are the subject of this application this evening?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. And have you been qualified to testify as an architect before the Livingston Board of Adjustment before?
Not before this board, no.
Okay, so then would you be so kind as to just familiarize the board with your credentials and what other boards that you have been qualified to testify as an architect?
Of course. I received my education from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. As I said, I am a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. My license is current and valid. I have 20 years' experience in the field of architecture, where I've worked on small, single-family additions all the way up to multi-building, mixed-use complexes. I've testified just last night in Cranford. I've testified in Newark, Manasquan, Westfield, and a couple throughout the state of New Jersey. But I've never testified before this board.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request that the board accept the qualifications of the architect to testify as a licensed architect.
I'm going to do this rather than doing it in the beginning because you started testifying. Do you swear or affirm that the statements that you just made to the board are true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
And do you swear or affirm that any statements you make to the board and testimony you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Consider yourself under oath and that the statements you made before were made under oath.
Correct.
Okay. And you do
1 second.
recall,
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objection, the witness is accepted as expert in architecture.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So the plans that, there have been several revisions to the initial plan that you submitted as part of this application, correct?
Correct.
And basically that you've scaled down the size of the house, and the house, as was previously testified by the engineer, was moved up closer to the street, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and you're familiar with the property that's the subject of this application?
Yes.
Okay, and you're familiar with the neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, and you're familiar with the Pearlsons, the objector's home, where it's
Yes.
located?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So let's just go with the exhibit that is the most recent plans for you to testify to, although we need to mark them in as an exhibit because I do not believe that we have a denial letter on those plans.
So it would be sheets PB1 through PB4.
And maybe it would be helpful for the board if I say that you do recall that you had submitted revised plans, that the municipal zoning review officer had issued a denial of application on September 16th, 2024, and lists the same variances that are the subject of this application, but then included that the unfinished attic space described in the plans needs to be added to the habitable floor area calculation since it's considered part of the second floor. You recall that review letter?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so did you revise your plans?
Yes, we did.
Since the submission of those plans to remove that condition?
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you be so kind as to just, review your architectural plans with the board?
Sure. This house is designed as essentially a center hall colonial. When you come in through the main foyer, it's a two-story space with the stair. To the left is a study. To the right is your two-car garage. You get through the two-car garage into the house through the mudroom. Also, to the left of the entry is a dining room. In the rear of the home is the open kitchen and family room. Tucked to the right of the house, in the back right corner behind the garage, is a guest room. There is a full basement under the house, except for, of course, the garage area. On the second floor, we have 3 bedrooms. There used to be 4 bedrooms, but to help reduce the size of the house, we took away the 1 bedroom and made it unfinished attic. What Liz was talking about with including that unfinished space in the habitable floor area, so we still had a door shown going into it. So we since removed that door, closed that space off, and then just put an access hatch below it to be able to access that space, because any enclosed space you have to be able to access per code. Let me go to... So some of the changes on the elevation, you can't really tell on the front, but the left side of the house with the 2 large gables was pushed back to help reduce the square footage. These rooms are, not overly large. How do you zoom in? A 2-car garage at 21 by 20 is about as minimum as I would suggest for a 2-car garage. A study at 8 by 12 is not very large. It's just enough to maybe have a little home office. The dining room also at 13 by 12, not overly large. The rear area is larger, but, width-wise at 14 feet, it's not, once again, not a huge space. A guest room at 12 by 11. Upstairs. Once again, the bedrooms are around 12 by 12, 13 by 13. The primary bedroom is 15 by 16, has a primary bathroom and a walk-in closet. Nothing here is, I feel, overly large or grossly exaggerated for space. I work on a lot of multifamily buildings. These are about the same size as the bedrooms and primary bedrooms we do there. Here's the rear elevation. As was testified, this is a 2-story house according to the town definition, and also would be considered a 2-story house per the International Residential Code, where it's measured from average grade, and then that also, from that average grade line, you can't have your floor more than 6 feet above that, which we do not, so this is a basement and a 2-story home. Let me open up the rendering. We prepared a rendering for this to show color and texture and material on this. We submitted a little more of a modern color palette. It's, like I said, it's a center colonial home look, but it's got, the dark roofs, dark windows. We're using like a ledge stone instead of more of a cobblestone look. So, to testify to the character, I do not believe this is out of character for the area. The homes to the left and the right, they are, I believe, from the front are single, story-looking homes, whereas this is a 2-story home. But I do not believe that this home is out of character for the area.
So
Excuse me, Ms. Durkin, is that document part of the package that's been submitted to the board with the coloring in the house?
Yes, it was submitted to the board.
Is that in the most recent submission or the prior?
This was we've never updated this rendering, so it was with the prior submission.
It's the prior one.
Yeah.
It's just to show the materials, correct?
Correct, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to tell the changes we made from this elevation anyway.
Would you be kind enough to resubmit that after the
Of
hearing,
course.
please?
Not a problem.
So that we have a copy, because I'm not sure, it's not in my package item, maybe it just didn't make it way in.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay. So in your professional opinion, the proposed home would fit on this lot appropriately, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that the home, once it's built, would fit in with the character and scheme of the neighborhood?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And from an architectural standpoint, you don't see a negative with this proposed construction, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay. Because as a matter of fact, you're improving the streetscape because you're adding new housing stock, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in terms of the size of the home, this is a moderately sized single-family home, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And how many bedrooms are there?
4 total.
Okay. And initially, did the applicant request 5 bedrooms?
Correct.
Okay, so the applicant has scaled down the initial application to 4 bedrooms, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and there's no living space in the attic, correct?
No living space in the attic,
Nor in the basement, correct?
nor in the basement.
Okay, and you're familiar with the applicant is okay with the Pearlson's request that there not be a raised deck on the home, isn't that correct?
Correct, and we have not shown one.
Okay, okay. I have no further questions of the architect, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll ask a question. This is obviously a two-family house, and there's obviously been past discussions about the streetscape and everything else. This looks like a three-family house to me, three-story house to me, because of the way the height of the roof and the extra window up there. This looks like it's maximizing, not minimizing on a vastly undersized lot. So can you explain to me how this fits as a two-story house on a house with smaller, on a street with smaller houses?
Well, there are some smaller houses and there are some bigger houses.
Right, but you created a subdivision that was looking to say, that said, we're gonna have, sort of smaller houses. That's the public record. So I'm trying to understand how we got from a smaller house and a small lot to something that looked like it belongs on a much bigger lot.
I just want to make sure the record is correct. We did not give any of that testimony, because I know that speaking to the
Understood, but
person's counsel, they are of that mistaken belief.
Right, but
We
it
did
is-
not do that, correct.
I understand that as a
Yeah.
matter of public record, I looked at it, and this is what was brought forth to the
And-
planning board. That was,
The
bigger
planning
house.
board only approved the lot. They did not approve the construction.
Understood.
Hence why we're here tonight. And the initial
Understood.
application in 2019, the house was slightly larger than this in an FAR.
understood, I was there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay, good.
I was not part of that, so I
Understood, of
can't, I
course.
can't tell you why it's bigger than what was originally,
No, it's reduced.
but, it's smaller than what we originally had, from last meeting, or before last meeting. It's a two-story house, it's a lot of roof in the front because of the garage, how we come up from the garage. So it may appear, as you can see, we're coming up from the garage, so it's a lot of roof, it looks like, but, it's not substantial. If we stop this roof from coming up and went a wall here and only had a little roof, it might help reduce that look of that it's a massive house because you have all this roof. It's really not a massive house. I have, worked on much larger homes. I feel this is a very modest house, especially for Livingston, for new construction anyway, from what I've experienced.
Can you go back to PB2, please? So in the top picture there, it's unclear to me, towards the bottom left, is that a walkout basement or what is?
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a walkout basement. We have to create an areaway, and that's what the walls are on the site plan, to keep back the grade so that you can walk out of the basement.
So those are some sort of sliding glass doors or whatever?
Yeah, it's a slide, it just would be a sliding glass door, or French doors. We didn't get that far into picking things, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, just going back to the attic. I'm just confused also between these current plans and the ones before, because you seem to show the same heights for the first floor, second floor, but somehow we've shrunken the house to 34 feet from 34 feet, 2.5 inches, but then you've increased the distance from the first floor to the highest point of the ridge, so.
Did we?
Yeah, because it was 29 feet, 3.5 inches, and now it's 29 feet, 10, and
I don't know why that's different. 29,
now it shows 29 feet, 10 and a half inches. Before it was 29 feet, 3 and a half.
Oh, that's just, I'm not sure why that is, because we did not increase roof heights or anything. In fact, by shrinking the building slightly this way, that should have reduced, not gained, so I don't know exactly why those two are different.
Because in either case, then you're talking about a roof that's about the height of the ridge to the attic floor is anywhere from 10 feet, 2.5 inches to 10 feet, 10.5 inches. You're almost talking like a stand-up attic.
Well, you got to understand there's collar ties in
I
there too, so
understand.
those are going to cut down the head height. We don't have a stair up to that attic. It's not, it's,
Don't have one, but
Yeah.
one could be added, and you do have an unfinished attic on the second floor that could easily, that obviously you would have the height now of double height. So, because you have the height of the second floor, then also going up to the attic on the attic.
well, it
height.
wouldn't be double height. You're stuck with the roof
The
line.
roof line.
You can't have a double-heighted space in that room over the garage.
But couldn't the only reason why the roof is that high is also because you have the double gable that's in the front? And
Well,
with the
that-
window, and without the double gable, we could then lower the height of
Well,
the attic?
the window is just into dead attic space. It's just put there, so it's not a blank elevation right there. I mean, that window could be a little, gable vent or anything like that. It was just decided to do a window. Once again, this is not a habitable attic. There's no egress stair up there. There's nothing going on up there. I mean, if you want to talk about possibilities, anything's possible. I can't testify to what we didn't do.
Okay.
I have a comment or two. So thank you so much for your testimony. I've been looking at this, and we run into this quite a bit up here. Not all lots are created equal, even if they're in certain districts, so not all R4 lots are the same, not all R3 lots are the same. Some are oversized and some are undersized. This is an undersized lot, clearly. To me, it fits more in an R4 when I look at it. The minimum lot area for an R4 is 9375, and yours is, I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, the
9100 or
9156?
something like that, right? So in my mind, I'm looking at this more as an R4 situation, where the habitable floor area is actually under and sort of complies with the R4. What I'm looking at really more is, I'm not so much concerned with the area, but just the look of the house. To me, looking at the roof, it makes the house look really massive to me. And I think, like you said, it's not a big house, but the roof makes it look really big. So perhaps there's a way to look at that and just scale that back a little bit and maybe look at the design a little bit. But I think that, for me, in my mind, it's more about the appearance than the actual size of the house.
Correct, yeah, and like I said, I completely agree that because of the roof, that's why this house is coming off looking so very massive from the front.
Right, so that
You see all
we
that
should maybe
roof.
look at that, yeah.
Anybody else on the board have any questions? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness?
What is your feeling about that?
Again, Lisa, for the record. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Martinique.
Martinique? Okay. Okay, Mr. Martinique, there were a lot of questions that were asked. I just want to verify one thing. The plans that you just demonstrated or showed this evening and marked as an exhibit, were they the same plans that were on file, I believe with an August date, except for the unfinished attic?
Correct, they're essentially the same, except for, like I said, we removed the door into that unfinished attic space, closed it off, and did an access hatch from the garage.
Okay.
I have to look into why we have 29.10.5 on this, and the other one was 29.3.5. I'm not sure where that 7 inches came from.
I'm just going to start with the basement and go up, okay?
Sure.
So there is a walkout basement that's proposed in connection with this house?
Correct.
Do you know why there's a walkout basement, why it's not more like a cellar and,
I believe because of the grade drop. If the grade drops enough and you can have a walkout basement, it's a lot nicer to have a walkout basement than a cellar.
and how large is that basement area?
Basement area, do we have that? No, but it's probably still around, it's around probably about 1,300 square feet. Because it's not, it's not underneath the garage, which is 448 square feet, but it's under the rest of the dwelling.
Okay, so the basement area that's being shown on the screen right now, that's approximately 1,300 square feet.
Somewhere around there, yes.
And do you know the ceiling height that's proposed in the basement?
Yes. 8 feet, or 8'8". Top of sill, yeah, 8 feet. 8'8", yeah, it'd be 8'8".
Given the height and size, is this an area that can be used for a TV room, a workout room? It's usable.
It's usable space, absolutely, yes.
The first floor plan, please. I believe you went through the rooms, but can we just go around again and just identify what the rooms are?
Sure. As you walk in the foyer, to your left is a study. Right behind that is the dining room. Behind that is the kitchen, which is open to the family room. Beyond the family room is a guest room with its own private bathroom. Below that is the two-car garage, which is, you gain access through the rest of the house through a mudroom.
And with the garage, based on the township's calculations, there's a portion of that garage area that is not included in the FAR calculation, is that right?
That is correct.
450 square feet?
450 square feet, I believe. It says the first 450 square feet, so anything beyond that would be included in.
So those 450 plus the 1,300 in the basement, they don't count towards the habitable area that is included in the FAR calculation?
I believe the basement does, I thought. Didn't it? Does it? It does not? No.
And then if you can move on to the second floor plan and walk through those rooms again?
Sure. As you come up the stair from the two-story foyer as you come up the stair right ahead, you'll have bedroom number 2, which has an ensuite bathroom. To the right of that is the primary bedroom with a primary bathroom and a large walk-in closet. And then to your right down the hallway is a laundry room, and then to bedroom number 3. And then at the end of the hallway is a hall bath.
And you're saying it's bedroom number 3, but in fact, how many bedrooms are being proposed?
Oh, there are 4 bedrooms. This is bedroom number 3 on this floor, with the guest room on the first floor being the 4th bedroom.
Okay. And the last reiteration of the plan that was filed with the board, I want to say it was August 26th date. What's being labeled now as an unfinished attic, that was previously a bedroom with a walk-in closet, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it was relabeled for what purpose?
To reduce the square footage of the house, the livable area of the house.
But the house itself didn't actually shrink. It was just based on math, based on the township code, is that?
No, the house did shrink some. We reduced the front setback, the front, bedroom area. I believe we brought this whole area in 2 feet. I don't think we brought the back in at all. I think it all was right in here. This laundry room got a little bit smaller, so we did reduce the overall footprint slightly.
I'm sorry, the area that is now called unfinished attic, which was formerly labeled bedroom number 4, did that space reduce in size?
Somewhat, because of the just getting rid of the room, the roof slope and everything like that. It did and did not, kind
Not
of. I forget how big that bedroom was. I think it was 200-something square feet, so that came out.
And up until the time that you presented this exhibit today, that what's called unfinished attic area, that actually qualified as an attic under the township code, is that correct?
Correct.
And why was?
We had a door.
What's the difference?
We had a door going into it, so it was part of the second floor. You could just walk right into it. So we got rid of that door and put an access hatch to the attic.
And from an architectural standpoint, would it be easy to convert it back and have a door?
Yeah.
Would the applicant, if the board were inclined to even grant this application, would it be inclined to, as a condition of approval, not put another bedroom within the house?
Well, it wouldn't be so much as putting a bedroom, but you're going again, you put a bedroom in there, now you're over your FAR. So,
Right, but a lot of things happen in houses without boards knowing about
it's
it.
true.
So I'll take that as a no.
What do you, as a,
If there was, if the board imposed a condition that there wouldn't be another fifth bedroom, is that something that the applicant would agree to?
I believe so. He allowed us to remove it now, so I don't think, like I said, he couldn't put it back. We couldn't put it back as the architects without coming back to the board for more square footage.
And there's also, aside from this unfinished attic on the second floor, is there also another
Excuse me,
attic?
I just want to make sure, what are we trying to get here? Because the zoning is about the restrictions of the front yard, backyard, of the front setbacks. So why are we going in detail? I don't understand.
Because there's also a requirement of habitable floor area, and that's exactly, precisely the questions that I'm asking here.
He's already shown what's the habitable floor area, right?
Well, if we, the label change, yeah, I'll say a label change has changed based on the formula that the town has. But I have another question related to, is there also another attic or an attic plan?
Well, there would be an attic above this floor because of the roof geometry, but, there's just an access hatch up there
So
to get up to the attic.
Two attics in the proposed house?
It's one big attic, but you could call it two because you're seeing them on two different levels. Like let me show you the. So the attic, we're talking about that's located above the garage at the second floor would be this space right here. And then the normal attic of the house would be this space up here.
So as some of the questions of the board is the massing of this house and what it looks like.
Right.
Is it normal from an architectural standpoint to have two attics in a home?
Yes. There's plenty of times where there's dead space above other rooms that you can call an attic. Anything that you would be able to stand up in would be considered an attic, and that's 30 inches they consider in the code.
Would it be possible to remove the top floor that's the proposed?
You mean up here?
Yes.
I mean, without going to a flat roof? No. If you want a flat roof house, then yes.
I'm assuming that there's a way to redesign the roof or take off some of the massing on the top if there's another attic space.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. And then a question was thrown your way related to the patio area. There's a patio area I'll talk about the one that's attached to the house.
Areaway. I've never seen us call a little, areaway out of a walkable basement as part of as a patio. You're not having a party there, you're not putting a chair there.
That's what the engineer called it, so that's what I was referring to. What is an airway?
Areaway.
Areaway.
It's just a small space that allows you access.
Is there pavement or any type of
Yeah,
pavers
there's got to
there?
be, I mean, I guess there doesn't have to be. You could walk right out onto grass. You don't have to have any kind of pavement there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. As my colleague said, if there's a reason for these questions about the patio and so forth, let's move on. Is there a reason for asking about the patio?
Yeah, it related to whether the rear yard setback was measured from the area that I'm referencing now or not. Because there's a provision within your code that states that rear yards, there shall be a rear yard at least 40 feet, except that an attached sun deck or patio may extend into the required yard for a distance of 10 feet. If that was in fact a patio, it's in a yard that's less than what's permitted, so I would submit to this board that the rear yard setback requirement is measured from the patio.
Okay, so we'll take notice, we'll take note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You made statements related to the character of the neighborhood and the homes.
Correct.
Have you done any sort of survey related to the square footages of the homes on Sycamore, and particularly on the west side of Sycamore?
Yeah, that's not mine.
Okay, I can defer it to the planner, but there was statements made by this professional that it was in character with the
I was just talking about the aesthetic of the elevation. I'm not talking about square footage.
Materials?
Materials, colors, look of the house.
Okay, I'll reserve for planner's comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to let you know, I spoke with my client, he's agreed to a condition, I'm sorry. I spoke with my client, and he agrees to a condition of 4 bedrooms, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Please, come back.
One quick question, just so I.
Please, just for the
Yan
record,
Zhong Niu.
state your name and your address.
Yan Zhong Niu, 6 Arlington Drive.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the chart where you show the rear rendering of the house with the thick line showing the approximate grade? Yeah. Just want to make sure I read this correctly. So that thick line, approximate grade, that's a hypothetical calculated, right?
It was based off of the grading plan.
Right. So if you scroll down so we can see the back of the house, yeah, here.
Yeah, this is the,
Right. So basically that walkout basement is basically the regular walkout basement, right? So you open the door, you're walking onto a flat surface.
yeah, and then you have to come up a little bit to meet grade.
Okay, understood. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else in the public have any questions for this witness? Anybody else on the board? Another chance? Okay, I turn it back over to you.
I apologize, is it possible that we can take a 5-minute break?
Perfect.
Thank
You're
you
already
so
running
much,
late
Mr.
here.
Chairman.
I'll give you 6.
Thank you, I appreciate
Okay.
that.
Okay, we're in recess for a few minutes.
Jackie, we should have a time limit on the case going forward.
Okay. So Matt, you've had an
Okay, we're back in
opportunity-
session. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm
We're
sorry.
back in
You're
session.
back in- Okay. So you've had an opportunity to listen to what some of the comments to the board was regarding the design, the attic, and the height, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so based on those comments and the feedback that you just received from the board, are there certain modifications that you can do to that plan?
Absolutely.
Okay,
There's a number of things we could do to help create a better looking area here. We could delete this little dormer, lower this, garage roof, or maybe change it to a different, a gable, and kind of get a wall here to reduce the massing here. This massing can be reduced if we change the, slight, you don't want to make it too flat, but we could play with the pitch of the roof to help reduce that. We could take out, instead of having windows around, like on the sides and everything up in the attic, we could just do gable vents so that it doesn't look like there's a habitable, livable attic up there. So, yeah, we're open to that.
okay.
Oh,
And the
yeah,
restriction on the height?
We could come down, if we change the pitch of the roof, we could easily come down a foot and a half to around 33.6 or something like that. So we could make sure that we are under any ordinance height.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to make a comment on that on the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the only other comment that I would make, that's great, thank you for, reducing the height. My only other concern would be because depending on what you're talking about doing, would be still that space that says unfinished attic, and as you said, things could be done. Would you also consider deed restricting that area, that it can't ever be living space?
I don't own this, I can't deed restrict anything, so that's, up to
No,
the owner.
what we've agreed to is a condition on the approval to 4 bedrooms.
Like I said, you
That's
can't,
And when we get a building permit, it's
Yeah.
based on those plans.
on those
I'm
plans.
talking about for future, because that room could always be changed.
But they would have to come back
They
before
would have
this
to
board.
go, they would have to get a
Yeah.
permit, or
That
if
would
you're
be
doing
pretty
work
difficult.
illegally, you're
Yes,
doing it illegally.
correct.
No one could stop that. I've been in, plenty of, apartment buildings that have been on fire where, there's beds in the living area, so, you can't stop illegal activity.
Yeah. And the windows are being removed.
And the
too,
windows
correct?
are being removed,
Yeah, so
correct.
that even goes further to diminishing that ever
Yes.
becoming any living space, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to have any questions just for this change?
It sounds like it's moving in the right direction, but would it be possible to have revised plans that are filed with the board that can be looked at before a vote? Because
Yes, we'd have to have revised plans at some point to see what, a foot or foot and a half doesn't mean anything, really, yes. We would want revised plans.
before a vote, not
Yes,
as a
yes,
condition?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay, great.
yes. I can't approve a concept.
Thank you.
Okay. So if the board is going to require it, because as this board knows, you can make as a condition revised plans that are approved by your professionals. If the board is so that they want us to bring in revised plans, and particularly given the night, and I know there's other applicants here, then we should just, stop here, submit revised plans and move on. That's my idea.
I think that's probably the best way to go. Jackie, does that work with our
the
schedule,
next
or?
date?
It's not unusual for the board to send an application back for staff to review based on the comments, but it's not my call whether
Okay.
you adjourn it or not.
Right, do we need to have a vote? Can we approve something with a,
I think my concern is what's the word I'm looking for? The interpretation of what, we might be thinking 3 inches more, you might be thinking 3 inches less. I'm not saying that you are, but, and it's not what we are envisioning at that point. I mean, I'd like to hear from other people on the board if you
Mr. Chairman,
agree
can
or disagree.
Yeah, this is me. Can I also articulate that the town's planner is in the room, and if you were to subject to, she's heard the testimony, so maybe she could be the person that would approve. But it has to be fully articulated on the record what this board is looking for.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I understand your concern because the dynamics of this application, and I'm not characterizing any which way, is you want to make sure that all the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted so that if and when the board makes a vote, they're making it based upon what's presented to the board and the board has a clear understanding of what it is. I'm not suggesting to the board which way to go on this. I'm just saying that as an attorney,
Yeah,
I
we
would be
consent, we just
concerned.
need a date.
Huh?
We consent, we just need a date.
Okay.
It's just that I know the docket is kind of stiff, so we'll see where we go. I think you have
I'm gonna
some-
work with you.
Do you have a question? Sure.
Okay.
Let's just,
I'm a little concerned that we're already talking about approving it. That, maybe I misheard it.
well, that's what
If
we're
it's a
we're
vote,
trying to
that's fine.
decide how to proceed the correct way, I think.
Right,
So-
right. So I'm also hearing like approve this was
No,
thrown around. Maybe I misheard it.
Respectfully, when the board's using the word approval, they don't mean that they're approving it.
Very
They're
good.
just meaning that they're going to
Making a
vote on the
decision.
approval.
Very good, thanks.
Okay.
And I guess before you guys vote, I can make a final statement,
Yes.
right? If
Everyone will be
possible.
allowed to make a final
Okay,
comment.
very good,
before.
thank you.
I think that's better to see it. Jackie, do we have a date? I think that might be the safest way to go with so much action going on here, that
Yeah,
everyone's on the
that-
same page.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that date would be Tuesday, November 26th. Just have to make sure that the board has a quorum that's right before the holiday. Just want to make sure that we're good for a quorum for that night.
I have, everyone, will we be here? Turkey will be served? Does that work for for you, ma'am? Yes, it does. Okay. So
Mr.
what-
Chairman, before
Oh, yes, please,
we
Jackie.
do that, if you can give us some clear instructions as to what we should be looking for.
I think that's
um,
fair.
yeah.
Let me try to summarize, and I'll ask my fellow board members to dive in if I've missed something. We're looking to reduce the massing of the house, specifically the appearance of a third floor, so reducing the massing of the attic and any other adjustments you can do to reduce the massing, and maybe in the back too a little bit. I just lost my train of thought, sorry. You had indicated somewhere around 33 to 33 and a half feet, so we'd like to be in that range. I think that's fair. That'll leave comfort that the attic is truly not usable by nefarious people down the road, not you guys. Anything else that anybody want to chime in, please?
Yeah, we talked about removing, because it appears that the dormer is in that unfinished space, so we talked about not having a window in the unfinished space.
Right, yes, thank you.
And showing the setback to the patio.
Okay,
It's not
anybody else?
it's not a patio. By code, you have to have a landing on either side of a door. So it's not a patio. We have to provide a landing.
Okay, can we at least show the size of the landing in the drawings, please?
Do we not show?
The dimensions are not there, right?
I don't think they're there.
Yeah,
don't
need
think
the
that-
dimensions of the landing over there.
Right, because it wasn't clear in the original drawing whether that was a walkout or not. Now that we understand it's a walkout, we want to understand what that landing is when you come
Yeah,
out
it's
of the
4 by 6.
Okay, we just had that added, it wasn't clear.
Yeah, it's on this exhibit. It's
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? We're good? I think that's pretty clear.
What about pushing it farther forward, the whole
Oh.
house? I mean,
Does anyone have opinion before I chime in on moving the house a little further forward?
Well, I think it makes sense for it to be equal with the neighbors. I think it looks funny if it's pushed out.
Which will,
Well,
it'll increase,
there's two neighbors, one's a lot further out than the other, so the question is whether you kind of set it in the middle between those two setbacks as opposed to the neighbor to the left.
and I want to make sure my fellow board members understand that'll change the front yard setback.
Correct.
To be a greater number, but if we feel that it's giving more relief by moving the house forward, then I think that's not a bad idea. Everybody, yes, no? Okay, that was a good point. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
thank you very much.
We'll
Mr. Chairman,
see you in
bef-
November?
bef-
Oh,
Before
yes,
you do
wait.
that, just want to get a sense of when we can expect the revised plans, because I've made the decision to send this application to the town's planner so that we can get a review memorandum done, and so that everything, the variances can be articulated and opined on by the town. I know we do have a zoning denial letter. We also have the engineering memo, but I think it would be a good idea to have a planner's memo.
And also, just for the record, we consent to any statutory adjournments, of our notice, so
Yeah,
no
there's
further
no
noticing
further
is
notice
required.
required.
How about October 25th? to
Does that work,
submit?
Jackie?
I think it's a month.
A month? That gives a month to go through the system? Is that good? So October 25th is good?
Mr. Chairman, as a courtesy, I would just ask if the applicant could please send us a copy of those revised plans, because I've been chasing all the revisions to date. Thanks.
Noted. Anybody else? Ms. Durkin, you good? Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, let's call the next application. Everyone have a good night.
Okay. Block 503, Lot 6, 8 Harding Place, application number 2024-34-V. Noreen Abbas. Applicant seeks approval to extend the garage with new foundation and second floor addition above in the violation of the following sections. 170-99C2, front yard setback, 40 feet required, 36 feet proposed, 4 feet variance requested. 170-99C4, rear yard setback, 35 feet required, 31 feet proposed, 4 feet variance requested. 170-87CC4, habitable floor ratio, 30% allowed, 33.04% proposed, 33.04% variance requested.
Come on in. You get the hot seat. Have a seat. And turn on your mic, please, with a little button, and then let the,
Good evening.
hold on 1 second.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, could you please state your name and spell it, please?
My official name is Nigat, Nighat. Middle name Noreen, Noureen. Last name Abbas, Abbas. I go by Noreen.
Ms. Abbas, do you swear or affirm that any and all statements and testimony you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Consider yourself under oath.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't you tell us why you're here and fill us in a little bit.
Sure. I bought this house last year in August, moved from Pennsylvania with my 2 daughters. And I'm a single mom, and I moved for my job. And this house that I bought has only 1 full bathroom, and I have 2 teenagers, so we are trying to make a new bathroom. On top of that, we are extending the garage and built the bathroom and a bedroom upstairs on top of the garage and the den. So that's the scope of the project.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
You need some?
You have a copy of the zoning table?
No.
The zoning table, 1 second. No, the one for this.
This not on there, I checked.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second, let me just call up a piece of paper.
The lot size is 7292, I looked it up.
Oh, okay. Is it oversized or?
Undersize, it's 7292.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's not working.
Ms. Hollis, I have a question. There's findings here, these were old owners, the Sperlings, and we approved this, but nothing was ever done, so these are basically the same plans. Is that what this is?
No.
Yeah, there's an increase on this. The board previously granted the variances listed with slight increase on the front yard and rear yard.
Yeah, I sold it, but it's, okay, thank you. I was just wondering.
Yeah, the previous owners, Sperlings, they had the plan approved back in August of 2021. They never went for construction. They had 5 variances. I have 3 variances. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the variances that you're looking for, okay?
So, yeah.
Why don't you walk us through that, and are they existing? Are they changing from what's existing out there? Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, the front yard setback, there is a 4 feet variance. The required is 40 feet, proposed is 36. So I'm going for 4 feet variance for the front.
And that's because you're changing the plans, or are you changing, is the existing 36 now? Or are you bringing the house forward?
Required or allowed is 40, proposed is 36.
What's there right now? It's 36 now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my
Please.
contractor, Leo.
Why don't you come forward, and you want to join her? Help
I don't
her.
have an architect,
And
but
let's swear you in.
I checked if I need to bring my architect, but they said you don't need to.
Excuse me.
Lior Kalani.
Here.
Can I sit?
You have to go by the microphone.
Yeah, you can sit.
My name is Lior Kalani, and
Leo, could you spell you?
Lior, L-I-O-R, last name Kalani, K-A-H-A-L-A-N-Y. And we're friends, and I'm her contractor as well.
So do you swear or affirm that any statements you make to the board or testimony you give to the board will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do,
Consider yourself under oath.
yeah.
Okay, so now maybe you could help out. The
So-
existing house is a 36-foot
Yeah.
setback? So you're not changing the
So we're
front?
not changing anything. The
Right.
only thing we're changing, we're just adding another 4 feet to the garage, which is not affecting the front.
Right.
And then in the back, we're not doing anything. We're not even touching the back, so I'm not sure what is the,
So you have an existing
everything
non-conforming?
is existing.
Right, that's
The
what I was
only-
trying to get to.
The only thing that might be a variance is the height, but if you look at the house next to it, it's a monstrous. I have pictures, we weren't told to bring, if anybody wants to show you, we have a building right next door, it's really like 6, 7 feet over, it's a corner.
According to
double-
your plans, there's no problem with the height, and that was reviewed by the township, so that's fine. And then you're going to be a
So we
little bit
don't have
over
any-
on the habitable floor area,
Yeah.
right? The
So we just
habitable floor ratio, rather.
We're just adding 450 square feet, just the master bedroom above the garage.
Correct.
The ratio, if it changed, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the habitable ratio is 3.04%, the variance. Proposed is 33.04, required is 30%.
Correct. And your existing lot size is undersized for this, you're undersized for this zone?
I don't know what's the threshold of sizing, but I think it's 1,700 square feet.
7,200, almost 7,292, I think it is.
Oh, I don't know. It's on the plans.
The lot 7292? Yeah.
The covered
Okay.
square footage?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, wrong one. I'm sorry, no, that's
Wait.
wrong, sorry.
That
Sorry,
could
sorry,
be.
sorry, no, sorry.
I don't have that big of a house.
7,500?
The lot size or the square footage?
The lots.
The lots, lot area 7,500 square feet. So this is an. Correct. So you're about, so you have an undersized lot, and you're just going a little bit over on the habitable floor ratio, right?
Yeah,
So it's,
just, yeah.
and if this was a full-size lot, you probably wouldn't be coming before us for that, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for this witness?
No. Did we say it was 7,501? Is that what we said? I just looked it up.
I saw 7,500 on the building area
Okay,
calculation.
okay.
Your son?
Yes. Would you confirm that, in your opinion, there's adequate capacity here if you make these changes to accommodate what you want to do,
Yeah,
and that it's consistent with the neighborhood,
yes.
and that any benefits that are granted to you by approval of this outweigh any detriments? There's no substantial detriments to anything?
No.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions on the board? Anybody in the public have any questions for this applicant? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Seconded.
There you go.
Okay. Mr. Kenya,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Shah,
Yes.
Mr. Marachi,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Beer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I can go to my soccer game.
Thank you for helping out. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, moving along, block 1600, lot 62, 168 North Livingston Avenue, application number 2024-36-V, Rodak Builders, Livingston 3 LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family residence in violation of the following section, 170-87 CC4, habitable floor ratio, 30% allowed, 35.97 proposed, 5.97% variance requested.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Posada. I'm with the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent Rodak Builders Livingston 3 LLC in connection with this application seeking habitable floor area ratio relief for the subject site located at 168 North Livingston Ave. The applicant is here tonight proposing to demolish the existing improvements to develop a new two-story single-family home on the subject lot itself. The proposal itself is an advancement of the MLUL because the application itself is going to eliminate an existing front yard variance. Although we are requiring ratio relief, you will hear testimony tonight that about 600 square feet below is the actual floor area itself being proposed, comparatively what is permitted within the area. The purpose of why we're here tonight is a triggering of the fact that our lot size is significantly undersized comparatively what we can do within the zone, as it's about 2,000 square feet below the requirement. But anything I say is deemed argumentative, so don't take me for my word, take my professionals for their word. With that being said, I'd like to introduce my first professional for tonight, which will be Mr. Sadra.
Yes, hi.
Mr. Sedra, would you say your name and please spell it for us?
Sure. Ayman Sedra, the spelling is A-Y-M-A-N. Last name is Sedra, S-E-D-R-A.
And Mr. Sedra, do you swear or affirm that any and all testimony and statements you make to the board this evening will be true and accurate and complete?
I do.
Consider yourself under oath. I'll turn it over to Mr. Posada for your qualifications.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Sedra, can you please provide your educational credentials, whether or not your license is still in good standing? And please also name 3 boards where you've been qualified in the past as a professional in architecture.
Sure. I graduated from Faculty of Engineering Architecture Department from Egypt. I became licensed in New Jersey in 2016. Also, I'm licensed in New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. I testified in front of this board and other boards in New Jersey, Bayonne, Jersey City, Rutherford, Wayne, just to name a few.
Terrific.
And my license in a good standing.
Terrific. Does this board accept him as a professional architecture?
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objection, the witness is accepted as expert in architecture.
Thank you. Mr. Sedra, are you familiar with the R4 zone?
Yes.
And did you take those bulk requirements into consideration when proposing these architectural plans here tonight?
Yes, I did.
And are you the professional that was charged with the responsibility of drafting these floor layouts and elevations?
Yes, I am.
Great. Why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here?
Sure. The first sheet, which is A01, introduced the floor plans for this building. The drawing on the left side shows the first floor plan, and we enter the house through an entry porch. Once we enter, we have a 2-story entry foyer. To the left of that, we have the dining room. To the right of that, we have the 2-car garage. Going back to the back of the house, we have the family room and the kitchen. And as a transitional area between the kitchen and the dining room, we have a small butler pantry and a powder room. On the top right side of the plan, we have the guest suite. It has its own bathroom and its own walk-in closet. Entering from the garage to the house, we walk through the mudroom, and then we enter through the family room area. Also, going from the family room to the backyard, there's a sliding door with the wood deck, small wood deck, 4x8, that goes down to uncovered patio. The livable area for the first floor is 1,183, and the garage area is 406. Now, to the right of this plan, we have the second floor on top and the basement at the bottom. The basement consists of one big open space, which is the rec room on the right side of the building, the back right side of the building. To the left of that, we have a bedroom with the egress access. Also, in the basement, we have a full bathroom, closet for the bedroom, and storage room, and also we have the mechanical room that's needed for this house. To the top, the second floor, which is the plan on the right side on the top, consists of 4 bedrooms, and we have one of these bedrooms is the master suite, to include the master bathroom and walk-in closets. One of these bedrooms, considered the in-suite, has its own bathroom and closet, and 2 of the bedrooms sharing a hall bathroom. And also in this level, we have the laundry room. And also, as you see in this level, you walk up the stairs, we have an open below volume, which is counted actually twice toward the floor area ratio, but only used in the first floor. As per the township ordinance, we have to count the 2-story 2 times. And this area is about 36, 38 square feet. That's the open, that's counted twice. Actually, it's more, it's 6 by 10, so it's 60 square feet. The second floor livable area is 1,440. The total floor area ratio proposed is 2,000. 623 with the total of 35.97, where the ordinance is 30%. We're asking for 5.97 variance for this condition. Also, I would like to mention that the R4 zone, the habitable floor area, as per the ordinance, is 3,220. The proposed is 2,623, which we are 597 square feet below the habitable floor area requirement. Moving to the next sheet, which is the elevations of the building. This is a colonial style home. We're using a mix of material between stone at the base. We're using horizontal hardy board. We're using board and batten in some areas, the vertical ones. The colors for this building also will be, we're using white siding and white hard board and batten. We're using black windows, dark roofs, dark shingle roofs, and also we're using black standing seam metal roof in the transition area between the first and second floor. So the front view is the drawing on the left. The rest of the building, which is the left side, the right side, and the rear elevation, will have horizontal board on the first and second floor and hardy vertical board and batten on the top gable end of the roof. Now, this wasn't submitted actually to the board.
Can we mark this in as A1 with today's date?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the rendering that shows what I just explained. As you see, the building is just a white building with black roofs and dark roofs, and stone at the base. Now, regarding the building height, we are required by code to be 35. Our height is 32.20, so we're almost approximately 3 feet below the required building height. I want to also mention that we have the first floor at 10 feet ceiling. We have the second floor at 9 feet and the basement at 9 feet. And also, I would like to mention that the basement is not accessible to the outside. We don't have a walkout basement. It's just enclosed space. Lastly, I'd like to mention that the attic, there is no livable attic, just unfinished space was pulled down the stair. No access, no egress to the attic. That's it.
And one quick question regarding the attic itself. In your expert opinion, it would not be habitable, correct?
Correct, yes.
And can you
it will
please
not
walk
be
us
habitable.
through why, aside from the fact that it's a pull down?
Say again?
Can you walk us through why it would not be habitable?
Because we don't have egress access to that. There is no stair that goes up except the pull-down stair. That this is not an access to the attic.
And what would you say the pinnacle height is within the attic?
The attic, there is a flat part. There is a collar tie. The collar tie is 5'7", and the height from the attic floor to the collar tie is 7 feet.
Okay, but it's just limited to that one specific middle area?
Just to the 5'7" in the center.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness.
Anybody on the board have any questions for this witness? Anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Okay, back to you, Mr. Posada.
Great, thank you. I'd like to call my last witness, my planner, Nick Graviano.
Would you be kind enough to state your name and spell it, please?
My first name is Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A-V as in Victor, I-A-N-O.
Mr. Graviano, do you swear or affirm that any statements you make and testimony you give to the board this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Please consider yourself under oath.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nick, can you please provide your educational credentials, whether or not your license is still in good standing, and also name 3 boards you've been qualified in the past as a planner?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University, a master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, a law degree from the Temple University School of Law. I've been qualified by this board on multiple occasions, as well as over 100 boards in 18 different counties, including West Orange, East Orange, South Orange, here in Essex County, along with others. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, and I also hold the AICP certification.
And are those licenses in good standing?
Yes, sir.
Terrific.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objection, the witness is accepted as an expert in professional planning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Nick, did you have an opportunity to review these proposed architectural plans?
Yes, I did.
And did you also have an opportunity to review the civil and survey as well?
Yes, and I've also had the opportunity to visit the site and the neighborhood on 2 occasions.
All right, can you please walk us through why you think the subject site can justify the relief being sought here tonight?
Certainly, just quickly, the applicant is before the board this evening for a specific piece of property known as Block 1600, Lot 62. It's an undersized lot in the R4 district, as you heard in the previous testimony. The minimum lot area is 9375. The applicant's lot is 7292. That's existing and proposed. The applicant is before the board this evening requesting the habitable floor area ratio variance, whereas 30% is required. The applicant is proposing 35.97. That's roughly 435 square feet. As indicated in the architectural testimony, this zone does allow a habitable floor area of 3220. The applicant is at 2623, so it's definitely a reasonable proposal in terms of what the district allows and what this lot can accommodate. When you look at the applicant's proposal, the applicant is meeting the average front yard setback of the surrounding properties, as well as meeting all side and rear yard setbacks. When you look at the FAR variance, the applicant obviously must demonstrate the positive and negative criteria. In terms of the positive criteria, it certainly advances purpose A of the municipal land use law, advancement of the public health, safety, and general welfare. And there are 2 key reasons how this application accomplishes that. Firstly, the applicant is introducing stormwater mitigation to the site. There will be a dry well and direction of stormwater to that dry well. Additionally, the applicant is providing a improved driveway scenario. When I went through the property earlier this evening, the driveway is very narrow, encumbered by an existing retaining wall. That is a busy street. The wider driveway in this scenario will certainly provide a safer condition for the residents of this property to pull into the property. Additionally, this proposal advances purpose G, sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And then lastly, as you can see through the impeccably designed building and site, it advances a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Looking at the negative criteria, the applicant must demonstrate that the site can accommodate the proposed building given the request for the habitable floor area ratio. And as I stated before, all of the setbacks are being met. The off-street parking is being met. So the applicant's very modest request before you this evening can be accommodated on the site without substantial impairment to the zone plan, zoning ordinance, or to the public good.
So in your expert opinion, the site can accommodate the proposed improvement?
Certainly.
Great, I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anybody on the board have any questions? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? No? Do you have a question? Oh, okay. No, I guess that's it.
Great.
Okay. Do you want to close or?
In the interest of brevity, I waive my summation.
Okay. Does anybody on the board want to make a statement?
I was stuck in traffic coming home yesterday on Harris, like right by Harrison School. It was right when the school let out, so I was right in front of the house. So I was able to look at it. I didn't get out, but I was able to look at it, and I think that this is a great design, and it'll be perfect on that street. And it's great visibility because people drive by it all the time, and I think that just having a brand-new, shiny house on that street will be terrific.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Any other statements? Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, I'll second it.
Oh, she beat you.
Third.
I'll
She
get
beat
it.
you.
No, you do it.
Oh, Clearly.
Okay, you got it.
I'm on my left.
Okay. Mr. Horn,
Approved.
Ms. Marachi,
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Kenya,
Yes.
Mr. Shah,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Beer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Stay there.
No break?
Oh, you're back.
All right.
Okay, I'm coming. Block 4100, Lot 36, 125 Hillside Avenue, application number 2024-43-V, Rodak Builders, LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family residence in violation of the following sections: 170-98C2, front yard setback, 50 feet required, 35 feet proposed, 15 feet variance requested. 170-87CC3, habitable floor ratio, 21% allowed, 25.99 proposed, 5.99% variance requested.
Good evening, my name is Matthew Posada. It has not changed. I'm from the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicant, Rodak Builders, LLC, in connection with this application for habitable floor area ratio. The applicant is here tonight proposing to demolish the existing single-family home in order to develop a two-story single-family home. Although we are here for a ratio, the floor area that we are proposing is about 370 feet below what is actually permitted within the zone. We wanted to be consistent with the character of the neighborhood and not be deemed as overdevelopment for the subject site. But unfortunately, we are here before this board because the lot itself is undersized by approximately 20% for the minimum lot area. Tonight, I will have two witnesses for the subject application, Mr. Cedra, who will be my architect, and Mr. Graviano, who will be my planner. And if I may, I'd like to introduce my first witness, my architect, Mr. Cedra.
Would you please state your name and spell it for us, please?
Cedra, S-C-E-D-R-A.
Mr. Cedra, again, any statements and testimony you promise will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do,
You consider yourself under oath?
yes.
I'll turn it to Ms. Posada.
Mr. Cedra, are you an expert in architecture, and is your license still in good standing?
Yes.
Terrific. Does the board accept him as an expert in architecture?
I think we can accept him as an expert.
Thank you. Mr. Cedra, why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here to do in this subject site in the R3 zone?
Sure. So this house here, if we look at sheet A01, this is the floor plans for this house. On the right side is the first floor. We enter the house through the entry porch. We have a two-story entry foyer. To the left of that, we have the living room, the dining room. To the right, we have the two-car garage. Going to the back of the house, we have the kitchen on the left side, and we have a one-story family room of the back of the house. On the right side, we have the guest room with its own bathroom and closet. We enter from the garage to a transitional area for the mudroom where we can enter the rest of the house. Next, on the right side of the kitchen here, we have the pantry, and also we have the powder room facing the hallway coming from the garage. The area for this plan is the livable area is 1,629 square feet. The garage area is 440 square feet. The total floor, we'll come back to the total floor area ratio after reviewing the rest of the plans. Next to that, we have the basement. The basement plan consists of a big rec room area at the back, bedroom on the right side with an egress access, bathroom, wet bar. We have a small media room and a mechanical room. Also, the rec room of the back, it's accessible to the backyard through a sliding door. Going back to the first floor, I forgot to mention that I have a wood deck with a sliding door from the family room and the guest room, and the wood deck has a staircase to access to go down to the grate. The next sheet is the second floor plan, which is kind of like the typical what we do in this kind of layout. So we do 4 bedrooms, the master being included. It's a master suite with its own master bathroom and closets. We have en-suite bedroom with its own bathroom and closet. We have 2 more bedrooms sharing a bathroom, and then also we have a laundry room. And this is the 2-story foyer, which is counted twice toward the square footage, but only used in the first floor. And the square footage for this 2-story foyer is 62.5 square feet. The area for this second floor is 1,518. The total floor area ratio as per this is 3,147 with a percentage of 25.99. Now, let me finish the elevation, and then I'll go back to the bulk table. The front of the building, this is a colonial style home with the stucco facade just at the front of the building. We have dark roof, we have white stucco, black windows, black standing seam roofs, and also we have these pilasters at the end, at the corners of the building, just to control the transition between the stucco and the siding. The roof is just a hip roof. The rest of the house, the rest of the elevations, they're just James Hardy horizontal lap siding. This is the rear elevation. This is the access from the basement to the outside. This is the family room window above. This is the right side here, elevation. Again, it shows lap siding. And this is the left side elevation. This is the rendering that shows this wasn't marked, so we have to mark this.
This is A1 with today's date. Is that acceptable?
Yes, thank you very much.
This is the front view of the building. It shows the stucco facade, shows the pilasters in the corner of the building, dark roofs, metal roofs, standing seam metal roof. Going back to the elevation, the building height in here is 34 feet, 8.5 inches. That's the building height from average grade to the highest point of roof. We have 10-foot ceilings in the first floor, 9-foot ceiling in the second floor, 9-foot ceiling in the basement. The attic is not a livable space. It's only accessible by a pull-down stair. The height of the attic from the attic floor to the underside of the ridge, 5 foot 6 inches. That's it.
And again, the attic is a pull-down, correct?
Pull down, yes, correct.
And cannot be habitable?
No, it cannot be habitable.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? I have a quick question. If this was a full-size lot, would we have a problem with the habitable floor area ratio or not?
No, we would not. Nope.
That's solely because of the size of the lot.
Yep. It's
Okay, thank you.
undersized by about 20%.
Anybody in the
I
public?
have one question.
Oh, go ahead, please.
On the floor plan for the first floor, wait, maybe I misread it. Hold on 1 second, I read it. Nope, I got it, I'm good. Never mind, I was looking here instead of there. I'm good, never
Okay.
mind.
Okay. Once again, anyone in the public have any questions for this witness? Back to you, sir.
All right. I'd like to introduce my last witness, my planner, Mr. Nick Raviano.
Yes, Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A-V as in Victor, I-A-N-O.
You swear or affirm that any testimony you give the board, the statements you make before this evening will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Please again consider yourself under oath.
Thank you.
Mr. Graviano, are you a professional planner, and is your license still in good standing in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
Thank you.
We can accept you as an expert in professional planning.
Thank
Excellent. Nick, can you please walk us through why you believe that the justifications meet for this subject site?
Certainly. This application is very similar to the last application. The applicant is requesting habitable floor area ratio relief, as well as the review letter indicated front yard setback relief for a specific piece of property known on the township's tax maps as Block 4100, Lot 36. This property is in the R3 residential zone. As indicated, the minimum lot area of the district is 15,000 square feet. The applicant's property is 12,105 square feet, which, as you heard before, triggers the need for that habitable floor area ratio variance. When looking at the habitable floor ratio variance, it certainly advances purposes of zoning A, promotion of the general health, safety, morals, and welfare. This application also does it in two ways, although they're different than the previous one. This application is actually reducing impervious coverage on the lot from exists today from roughly 30% to 26%. The lot today has a very expansive front yard driveway, which takes up the majority of the front lawn. The applicant is removing that for a lot more of a modest driveway. Additionally, the applicant is providing the stormwater management system on the site, which will help mitigate the effects of stormwater. It also advances purpose G, sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And then lastly, it also advances purpose I, desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. When we discuss the negative criteria, the applicant must demonstrate that the lot can accommodate the proposed building, given the request for the habitable floor area ratio variance. As with the previous application, the applicant is meeting the average front yard setback of the surrounding properties, is also meeting the required side yard, combined side yard and rear yard setback variances, as well as meeting the required maximum building height of the district. So this lot can certainly accommodate the proposed dwelling, given the request for the increased habitable floor area ratio. Looking at the front yard setback variance, that could certainly be granted under the C2 criteria, advances in purposes of zoning A, G, and I that were given in relation to the habitable floor area ratio variance. And there's certainly no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance with the granting of that setback variance as well.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness.
Just to clarify, the front yard setback, there's a variance of 15 feet is needed per the denial application, and you testify towards the average setback?
Yeah, the average setback of the lots in the setback study is 34.91 feet. The applicant is proposing 35 feet.
So therefore, you feel this is adequate to resolve that issue?
It's adequate to resolve the issue, and it's also adequate enough to provide two-car parking in the driveway.
I just have one question about, I was going to ask about the front yard setback. So on the plans where it says variance, that says no, it should be yes, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Those are the plans that were submitted, which therefore led to the denial letter. The reason why we said that...
right here it says no, so that
Right.
should be yes?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. And the reason why it's not necessary, it was not the applicant's intentions for misrepresentations, but the understanding was that provided that it meets the average setback, that would be acceptable. But the new exercise is that even if, you still have to go now before the board to get that relief. So moving forward...
So it's like no and a half, it's not, right?
That's your words, not mine.
Okay,
Yes, I need the
All right.
relief tonight.
okay.
That certainly could be rectified in the event of approval through
Okay,
resolution
just,
compliance.
because I was looking at the same
Right.
thing and going back and forth, so just thanks for clearing that up.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? I think no more questions. Do you want to summarize all, or?
Nope.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a statement or a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right.
Wait,
And this is with the provision that you will correct that front yard setback? to show-
Absolutely.
Correct. Yes.
Did Mr. Kenya second?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay, Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Kenya,
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Shah,
Yes.
Ms. Marachi,
Yes.
and Mr. Beer.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, who are you? I'll ride your coattails any day.
I gotta take this one out to get mine in. Put that back in a second.
Yeah, we're fine, guys. 11:59 is a long way from here.
Okay, all right. Block 3803, Lot 5, 109-111, West Mount Pleasant Avenue, application number 2024-33-MSUB-UV, Jabe Investments LLC. Applicant seeks approval to subdivide current lot and proposes to create lots 5.01 and 5.02. Lot 5.02 will front Grand Terrace to be developed with a single-family residence.
Terrific. My name is Matthew Passam with the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicant Jab Investments LLC in connection with this application, seeking minor subdivision approval with the D1 use variance. Ordinarily, a project like this with a minor subdivision would be going before the minor subdivision committee itself, and under the Goodfellas case, it would be since it's a fully conforming subdivision application, it would quote-unquote be as of right. Nevertheless, we decided to take a longer exercise specifically because of the interest of planning and also the master plan itself. What I mean by that is that the subject lot itself is in the B1 zone district, right, which only allows for commercial development therein. What we're looking to do is subdivide the parcel. When we subdivide the parcel, the rear lot, lot 5.02, will now be on Grand Terrace, which is an entirely residential neighborhood itself with 8 single-family homes in the surrounding area. So for all the obvious reasons, it would not be consistent with either your master plan or your zoning code. So rather than seek the minor site plan, only to come later for the D1 use variance to put a single-family home in a residential neighborhood, we figured, why not do a 2-for-1 show at 9:30 at night? So with that being said, I'd like to hand it off to my witness, who's also our surveyor, engineer, and planner, and maybe lawyer, I don't know.
No, not that.
Would you please state your name and spell it for us?
Certainly. It's Michael Lanzafama, that's Lanzafama. I'm a licensed professional engineer, land surveyor, and planner, licensed in the state of New Jersey. I'm a principal with the firm of Casey and Keller Incorporated, 258 Main Street, Millburn, New Jersey. My licenses are current and in effect.
Mr. Lanzafama, do you swear or affirm that any and all statements you give to the board this evening in your testimony will be true, accurate, and complete?
I do.
Consider yourself under oath.
Thank you, sir.
And does this board accept him as an expert in surveying, planning, and also civil engineering? We're going to qualify him as all three.
Yes, I'm licensed as a professional engineer and land surveyor since 1984, and as professional planner since 1985. I've testified before this board in all 3 capacities, as well as the planning board here in Livingston, as well as numerous communities throughout Essex and Union and Morris counties.
Terrific.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as an expert in engineering, survey, and planning.
Thank you.
Thank
Mike,
you,
can you
Mr.
please walk
Chairman.
us through the subdivision we're proposing here tonight?
Certainly. Let me just look at the area map that you have on the plan sheet, the first sheet in your plan set that was submitted. You can see that the property in question is tax lot 5 in block 3803. The property is a through lot that fronts on both West Mount Pleasant Avenue as well as Grand Terrace. The property is the former Jerusalem Restaurant, which is now vacant, and has occupied that site for decades. Immediately to the west of the existing structure, there is an extensive gravel and bituminous parking area that extends partway down to Grand Terrace. The property in question has a total land area of 32,581 square feet, or 0.748 acres. The property is located in the B1 zone district. The area surrounding the property immediately to the east is the VFW, as well as the temple that exists immediately to the east. To the west are commercial uses that front on West Mount Pleasant Avenue. Recently, the building that is on the immediate adjoining lot to the west is a yoga studio by JD Fitness, recently renovated that area and occupied that space. Along Grand Terrace, across Grand Terrace from our property, are all single-family residential lots located in the R4 zone district. The topography of the site is such that it drops pretty quickly immediately to the south of the Jerusalem Restaurant. There's a small steep slope area, and what that does is create kind of a natural divide in the property between the frontage on Grand Terrace and the frontage on West Mount Pleasant Avenue. The property is not impacted by floodplains or wetlands. It's been fully developed over the years. Let's see, we want to get to the site plan. Oh, I gotta switch gears here for a minute. Come on. There we go. There we go. And what I currently have up on the screen is the minor subdivision plat that we have prepared. And what we are doing is we're proposing to subdivide the property into two parcels. The parcel that currently would retain the Jerusalem Restaurant would become tax lot 5.01, and that lot would be 22,630 square feet. It would retain its entire frontage along the West Mount Pleasant Avenue frontage, and the frontage along Grand Terrace would be reduced to just slightly over 50 feet. The new lot that we are creating would be a rectangularly shaped parcel that would be 9,958 square feet. It would have a frontage of 79.65 feet and a depth of 125 feet. And this lot is consistent with what is permitted in the R4 zone. So the lot would have the appropriate width and size to support a house a single-family house that would be consistent with the neighborhood and consistent with the R4 zoning. So as far as the subdivision goes, it is fully compliant with the B1 zone criteria. There are no variances being sought with regard to the subdivision. What we are seeking is that the newly created lot 5.02 would be used as a single-family residence, which would require a D1 use variance because we're still zoned B1. And in my opinion, I believe that the positive criteria can be advanced in this particular application because the site is particularly suited for this use because of the surrounding neighborhood. When you look at the lots that are along Grand Terrace, there are primarily residential properties. Of the 14 lots that front on Grand Terrace, 9 of them are used for single-family dwellings. That's over 60% of the lots that front on Grand Terrace. By providing a single-family home immediately across from these other homes, in my mind, continues the existing neighborhood character by proposing a single-family home and creating a lot that is consistent with the others in the neighborhood. In my mind, the general welfare is advanced, again, because this is consistent with the state's master plan and objective of smart growth by introducing new housing opportunities in areas where infrastructure and mass transportation already exist. I also feel that the general welfare is being advanced because of the positive impact on the neighborhood that the investment in the neighborhood and likelihood of a new home to be constructed generally has a positive effect on the values of the homes in the neighborhood. Other sections of the MUL that I think would be advanced would be G, provides for a variety of housing types. This provides the opportunity of a modestly sized house opportunity within the community. And finally, the promotion of a desirable visual environment. I think the single-family house fronting on Grand Terrace is certainly a much better image than you currently see of this gravel surface that was once used as a parking area. You have the opportunity here of providing new plantings, new vegetation that would be installed around the home as part of any development that's done on the property. In addition, stormwater management elements would be employed as part of the requirements for any single-family home to be constructed within your community under your lot surface grading ordinance. So you also see a benefit there. As far as the negative criteria goes, I don't see a substantial detriment to the public good. In my mind, this proposal will not have a negative effect on the streetscape. As a matter of fact, it would maintain the neighborhood character. I believe the benefits outweigh any detriments. The benefits include reduced bituminous area from what might be permitted in a B1 development. If this property were developed under the B1 criteria, you could have almost the entire lot covered with building and parking areas. New landscaping elements that would be installed as part of the home. There's no substantial impairment to the master plan. The 2018 master plan, section 2, goals and objectives. On page 3, they cite to preserve and enhance the primarily residential character of the community. I think you have an opportunity here to introduce a single-family home into a streetscape that has almost nothing but single-family homes along it. And also to preserve and improve the quality of life. I think by introducing this house, you will be advancing that goal of the master plan. Under the objectives section of the master plan, item number 5 is to promote the establishment of appropriate land use standards that contribute to the well-being of persons in neighborhoods and preservation of or improvement of the environment and the quality of life and sense of community. Again, I think this does that. Finally, number 10, to ensure that retail establishments that would be adjacent to residential neighborhoods or would be larger than any now in the B or B1 districts are restricted to locations where destructive impacts are minimized. By allowing this lot to be used as a residential lot, you're reducing the potential impact on that neighborhood. Finally, under the land use element section, one of the recommendations for the B1 zone is identify specific small B1 districts, which this is, little pockets with residential districts. Change the permitted uses to only those which exist or to include others which are most compatible with those already present in such locations. So in my mind, this recommendation of the master plan is, to me, telling us that this is the appropriate use for that street, for that grand terrace. Not only the separation of the properties on two streets, but also that vertical separation that exists, in my mind, says that this is the appropriate use for that streetscape and not an expansion of a commercial space down into that area that would negatively impact the residents across Grand Terrace. Be happy to answer any questions. I believe that summarizes what I was.
Mr. Lonzabama, I just have two quick questions for you.
Sure.
If the applicant himself on his own volition did not seek this use variance, is it correct that upon the minor subdivision approval that he'd be allowed to have a business improvement within a residential neighborhood?
That's correct.
And is it your expert opinion that essentially what we're doing is correcting an unintentional outcome pursuant to the zoning code?
That's my, after reading the master plan and those recommendations, that you're spot on. That's exactly what we're doing.
I don't hear that too often. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. How are you both?
Good. How are you doing, Barbara?
I have a few questions regarding your
Can I
testimony.
interrupt you for a second? Could you just identify yourself for the record so it's on there?
Yes, my name is Barbara Allen, E-H-L-E-N. I'm the licensed professional planner, and I am the planner on behalf of the board.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With respect to the number of residential uses, I know you mentioned them as being 9 of 14 along Grand Terrace. How many of them are on the same side?
As our lot, just the one.
So
the one that is further to the west.
So there's, so it's one residential use, is it 2 over?
At 2 over, it's on lot 3.
Does that share the lot with a commercial use?
It does.
Okay, so that's kind of
An anomaly, yes.
an anomaly. I was looking at that. And the current configuration as you propose still maintains lot 5.01 having frontage along Grand Terrace. Was the purpose of that to provide for potential egress for a commercial use?
Possibly to allow access to the back of the structure. In the past, they have utilized access through that back area to sometimes do loading and unloading, so they were hoping to continue that practice. The building is currently vacant. We don't know what might be developed there, but whatever would be developed would be consistent with the B1 zone.
Okay, I guess the concern is that there'd be a single-family home with a commercial driveway on one side and a yoga studio on the other side,
Right.
being kind of isolated. And do the other commercial uses along that side egress to Grand Terrace?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for the commercial uses to come through and use?
That is correct.
That is correct, okay. And then there was also a D6 height variance?
Correct. Well, you don't know, if we get the D1 variances, it's assumed into the R4 criteria would be.
That's bulk variances, it's not quite other use variances.
So the D6, what Barbara's talking about is, if we went to the 35-foot height that is permitted in the R4 zone, technically we would need a D6 variance because the maximum height in the B1 zone is 28 feet. So in my mind, the lot as it is being proposed could certainly support a structure of that height and would not be inconsistent with the R4 zone. There's plenty of separation. It's not like it adds to intensity of use or additional square footage. It's simply the geometry of the structure. And looking at the topography of the site, with the high side being at the rear and grading down towards Grand Terrace, I seriously doubt that we're even going to reach that 35-foot height. I think based upon the average grade plane, you're going to see something more in the neighborhood of 33 or 34 feet. But in my mind, a D6 variance could be granted because I believe the lot can support that height
along, although part of Grand Terrace is characterized by single-family homes, this part of Grand Terrace is more characterized by commercial structures that do have that secondary egress onto Grand Terrace. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I was just curious when he said it was 60/40, the 40% of commercial use on the side where they're proposing the residential property. What are those properties?
So, as you said, the property immediately to the west is a yoga studio.
Right.
And then one immediately to the east is a VFW hall. And then following the VFW hall is a temple. And on the other side, on the yoga studio, it's a mixed-use property that has a single-family home along Grand Terrace and then a commercial building
There's
along Mount
like
Pleasant.
a learning center and some other
The nail
office
salon
space.
and all that.
And that's all on Grand Terrace.
Yeah, actually, they back into Grand Terrace. If you look at the.
Yeah, the other part's on Mount Pleasant Avenue. But just to clarify, the house, there's JD Fitness, which I know is immediately next to it. Technically, that mixed-use house is really also JD Fitness, and it's his house. It's not a house, it's really an office. It's in a mixed-use lot, but it's not a house.
Okay.
So it's still commercial. There's only commercial to the west, and there's nothing to the east, because it's all fronting on Mount Pleasant, and
So the residential
still-
is just across the
is
street.
on the opposite side of the street, yes.
JD Fitness is still using that as a house. He's renting it as a residence. That's what I was told.
I've been in it, but yes, there's a office space or whatever there.
We're not introducing hearsay tonight.
No. But, when you look at across the houses that exist across Grand Terrace, I guess the question in my mind is, would they rather see another single-family home opposing them or the expansion of the Old Jerusalem restaurant, whatever that may become, and pushing down towards Grand Terrace?
Which also brings up another question. If by building the house and we're reducing the lot, then isn't that also restricting any commercial, like you're kind of limited now to what's there, right? You can't make something wider, versus being deep.
You could. You have that whole area to the west of the building that you can still configure parking in. You have, the building could slightly be expanded to the rear towards Grand Terrace. And you could still, as I said, you have a significant area between Route 10 or West Mount Pleasant Avenue and the face of the building. So that could come forward and still be compliant with the ordinance. So there is opportunities to expand the building if they wanted to. So you're not rendering Lot 5.01 into inutility by doing this proposal. You're giving us the opportunity to get a single-family residence on Grand Terrace and still allow the majority of the property to be used according to the B1 zone.
One last thing.
Sure.
So, but the other thing is, would this cause somebody in developing that space, if a commercial development wanted to maximize the space, now pushing that development, commercial space further towards Grand Terrace, the long way, and then putting parking in between that and now this new residential lot, which then is affecting both lots?
Keep in mind that this lot line is our rear lot line.
Oh,
The
that's
VFW controls that
okay.
area.
That's where this dumpsters are.
Correct.
Okay. I got you.
So the building that's there was a restaurant, possibly to become a restaurant again.
Yes.
And there's going to be sufficient parking
Yes.
for this? Because we
Yes.
always run into a parking issue in this town,
Exactly.
Yes, it's my understanding that the applicant himself is looking for a new tenant to come in specifically for restaurant usage. They're not looking to expand the improvement at all, and part of whomever that tenant is, they will have to come to the minor site plan committee and receive approval to ensure that there is adequate parking.
As a follow-up, just to the introduction of the residential onto the commercial, how would it be affected by buffering requirements for setbacks for parking? Because typically where commercial adjoins residential, there's setback and buffering requirements. So would that impact
Yeah,
proposed lot
some of
5.01?
the area immediately behind proposed lot 5.02 would require a buffer strip between the parking area and that new lot line. But there's still adequate depth in there to get a driveway and a row of parking in there.
Can you talk about, I don't know if this is too premature, about the landscaping plan? Because the house would abut this business, so.
Well, we can absolutely say on the record, although we're not, I just want to make this clear, we're not proposing any single-family home or any improvements on the proposed residential lot, but just rather that the opportunity to do residential within that perimeter of 5.02. With that being said, if it would be found favorably upon this board, we would agree as a condition of approval that the perimeters of the proposed 5.02 would have both a fence and also landscape buffering.
So landscape like green giant arborvitae?
Absolutely.
Okay,
12 to 15 feet, but absolutely.
okay. And then the other thing, Mr. Lonzafamo, and I know that this is very premature, but when you mentioned a modestly sized house, just I would keep that in mind when we do the plans, because it's an undersized lot.
Well, it's the smaller zone in the community.
Right.
So you end up with a smaller home.
Right, because it's even undersized what is proposed in that area.
Well, the lot itself, just so we're clear, is going to be proposed at 9,958
Okay, oh.
square feet, whereas
so-
9,375
Okay, all
is
right.
permitted by the zoning
Sorry,
code.
okay.
No worries. But with that being said, we'll also agree as a condition of approval that we will not have to, we will agree not to come back for a ratio variance.
Okay, good, that's
Two for
good.
two.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was going with that, okay.
Yeah.
And I hope my client's not watching this right now.
Good, thank you.
The engineering department put out a document, which I'm sure you have a copy of, and there's a few comments that they say you should provide testimony on. One being the condition of the existing gravel and dirt parking.
Right.
Yeah, so if you could.
Well, that's what I was talking
Yeah.
about, that by constructing, establishing this lot and constructing a new single-family home, a lot of that gravel parking area that is kind of extended down to Grand Terrace would now be removed, so that would.
What about the
and we'd
existing
still-
stuff up front that's pretty shabby?
Yeah,
That's going to have to be addressed at the minor site plan for the new tenant that comes in.
Yeah.
We've already started that dialogue with the municipality.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, and I do have a copy of that memorandum and all the other items that Mr. Marucci and Ms. Hardaby had indicated, we will comply with.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I might, Mr.
Of
Chairman,
course.
Mr. Posada, we're going to go forward with the D1 and the D6, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Barbara, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. I assume the notice was given to all, yes.
All parties within 200 feet,
So
yeah.
everyone on the street got notice of this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, pursuant to the certified POL produced by the tax department of this
Okay.
municipality.
I don't see anybody out there.
Just for clarification, on sheet 3, where you show proposed lot 5.02, when you say front yard setback without a number, that's going to be,
Yeah, if you look at the table above, which is the R4 table, that shows the average setback being, I think it's 31.56 feet. And that's based upon the two structures immediately to the west. Because there's no other structures that front on that side of the street. So I used the not applicable for the B1 criteria, but used the average setback for the R4 criteria that listed in the table.
okay,
The
thank you.
average.
And there's the 5.01 lot on the Grand Terrace side, the 50.02 feet opening, that's currently a driveway?
No. It's just the remaining frontage. There's really no curb cut
Okay.
along Grand Terrace, but it looks like they brought the gravel right down to the back of the curb, and it looks like trucks are driving over it without benefit of a curb cut.
So in the eventual plan, you'll have to provide if you want to, if
Yes,
he wants to use.
curb cut.
Yeah, that would be
with adequate
part of the
driveway
site
width.
plan, yeah.
Or make that side probably look pretty too, but I guess we can't testify to that. Just thinking out loud.
Yes.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yes, please.
Right now, the cars are going from the Mount Pleasant up and down in the back, going backwards to the Grand Street, the Grand Terrace. Is that going to stop? Are they going to still allow the cars to go down?
It looks like they're doing it now, yes. Yeah.
But eventually, are they going to stop?
That would stop, yes.
It's a cut through? That's kind of a cut
Yeah,
through
I've
now?
done it, I've done it.
Yeah, I don't, that must have been done recently, because years ago, we did plans for this property, and that was not the case.
No, I've gone to the restaurant when they were open, I bought the food, I went down the other way.
Right out.
Just wanted to escape from my wife.
I do have just a question for clarity, because like I know if this does, whatever, could go for approval, that there's no house or no nothing yet, it's just really just about the subdivision. So are we saying that if we vote to approve the subdivision, are we saying that it's contingent, that subdivision plot will meet all aspects of, I know it's not an R4, because it's really a B1, but are we saying that this is approved with the condition that whatever is going to be built there will meet all R4 criteria without any variances? Is that what we're basically saying?
Well, that's what we're saying. We're saying that we want to use the property in accordance with the R4 zone as a single-family
Well, just saying, set those
residence.
conditions on that.
So for
approval
clarification, what I could say is we're seeking a minor subdivision application where the lot 5.01, where the restaurant is, will continue operating as a commercial property itself, where the proposed 5.02 will operate as a residential improvement itself, with two conditions of approval. Number one being that we would, if whatever the single-family home is, it would include a landscaping plan and also a fence as well, with arborvitaes or whatever the township engineer recommends for the subject site. And in addition, we would agree to a fully conforming single-family home on the lot, pursuant to the R4 zoning requirements.
That's what I mean, because
Yes.
it wouldn't meet the B1.
Meeting all the
so-
bulk standards.
No fast.
Meeting the bulk standards of the
Yes,
R4.
all bulk standards.
Okay. Any other comments?
What am I doing now?
Do you want to make a closing statement?
No.
Going 3 for 3? Would anybody like to make a statement or a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone for the public have any comments? The person in the public. Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay. Mr. Beer,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Kenya,
Yes.
Mr. Shah,
Yes.
Ms. Marachi,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you in 1 hour and 45 minutes.
No.
I think we started.
Yeah.
No, I think we started at 8:45, so we got 4 applications done in an hour.
Yeah.
Amazing, really.
That was crazy.
That was great.